Welcome back. In this course, we're gonna use Cursor to vibe code. But what's Cursor and what's vibe coding, right? So first of all, Cursor is a platform, it's a program that helps you build software with the power of AI, and that's without knowing how to code. The company behind Cursor, AnySphere, just raised $900 million at a $9 billion valuation. Billion. Those are crazy numbers. It's one of the hottest things right now. It's $20 per month at the time of this recording anyways, and what you get in return, it's a complete game changer. With Cursor, you're working side by side with artificial intelligence that understands your project, follows your instructions, and builds your project for you, almost like magic. You write what you want, that's called the prompt. Maybe you describe what the project should do, and then the AI takes over and does most of the heavy lifting. But let's simplify it. What can you actually build in Cursor? Well, first of all, mobile apps, both for the iOS and Android. Just like the apps you see in the App Store or on Google Play. You can create anything from a fitness tracker to a chat app to a personal finance tool. Though to be fair, at this point, you should aim for smaller apps. The next thing that you can build, websites, any type of presentation websites, landing pages, portfolios, personal blogs. Landing pages, for example, are absolutely fantastic for products, for startups, for events, all responsive, all clean. So that's a good way to go about it. The next thing that you can build, SaaS products. SaaS means software as a service. Cursor can help you build everything about it. The front end, the back end, the database, everything. And SaaS platforms are everywhere. You have a few examples on screen. And SaaS platforms are fantastic because they're one of the best ways that you can earn money. The next thing that you can build, plugins, tools like Chrome extensions, Discord bots, or maybe some specific tools for your team or company. Or on the flip side, you could go for WordPress plugins, right? If it lives in a browser or runs online, there's a good chance that you can build it with Cursor. And here's the big idea. So Cursor connects directly to the smartest AI models in the world. So that means it knows how to write Python, JavaScript, React, Next.js, Tailwind, TypeScript, Node, and so on. It's like having a team of senior developers available 24/7 with infinite patience, ready to code whatever you want on the spot. You tell it what you want and it starts coding. You review the results, you check it out, and then you give it feedback. And it constantly improves. This is without you knowing how to code. Talk to it in plain English. That's the essential part. So imagine this. You've got an idea for a product, right? A plugin, an app, a platform, a website, right? Something that solves a problem that maybe you've had for a few years. Normally, you would need months of development. You would need a team, a budget, endless meetings, right? But with Cursor, you just describe the idea. And in minutes, you've got something real, something functional, something that you can test, improve, and then maybe even launch after some work. That's vibe coding. So vibe coding is you telling Cursor what you want done in plain simple language, plain English, and then the platform executes it. And that's what makes Cursor so powerful. It doesn't help you write code. It helps you build products, solve problems, and move you from idea to execution faster than ever. Okay, please download the attachment and use the link to sign up for Cursor. So please sign up, download, and I'm gonna see you in a second where we're gonna install it together. For now, let's take a quick break. Installing Cursor is quite easy because it's just a simple program. There's nothing special going on, so please follow the same steps and check the same boxes. While I work in the background, let me set your expectations. We're early. Things are changing rapidly. Every week or so, there's big news, improvements, and that's a bit uncomfortable. New features are coming out, and I'm sure this course is going to be outdated, even though I'm going to do my best to keep it current. Now, my goal is to teach you how to learn and how to use these tools. I'm gonna teach you principles, and that's the real value of this course. But let's go back to the constant changes and improvements. This is the price you have to pay for being early. You need tons of patience. You need to let the frustration wash away from you. And that's because you are gonna get stuck. I promise you that. And it's not about my course, my teaching style, or my knowledge. No, I've personally had countless cases where the official guide said to click on the blue button, but there were only red buttons. Or the guide said to click on the save button, but there was no save button whatsoever. It's so frustrating. I had issues where I couldn't work anymore because of problems with my VPN. But I don't use a VPN. I followed every single official step and I still got stuck with a problem that nobody else had. I used 3 different computers and I got 3 different issues. And I could go on for ages. This is bound to happen to you as well. Now, my advice, use the guide from the attachment to get help. Most of the time, the short answer is this: you will have to do a lot of searching and fixing all on your own. I'm here to help, you can count on me, but some issues are going to be specific to your situation, to your computer and project, and you will need patience. But what's the upside? What's the advantage of being so early? We get the downsides. What's the plus? Well, you get a huge head start in the race. Whether it's for the job, freelancing, or building a business, this is massive. You learn from your mistakes, you see common issues, and you get ahead. As I said, it's like investing into Apple 20 years ago. Nobody knew it was going to be such a big success. But here, I promise you, there's nothing bigger than vibe coding. And it's all in your hands. You can create incredible stuff, or you could postpone. You can wait until things are super clear, super easy for everyone. There are no more issues, no more bugs, no more frustration. But then you're going to have 100 times the competition because everybody's going to do it. So it's as simple as that. If you invest now into Apple or Bitcoin, sure, you may do well, but if you were there at the beginning, the rewards would have been infinitely higher. So please understand why you're gonna suffer and you will have headaches and a lot of frustration. It's for your future. And if you can handle that, if you can continue to push on, the reward is gonna be huge. If you can continue to push on, to work through it, the rewards are gonna be huge. That's why I love vibe coding so much. It's exactly the right difficulty. If it was too hard, it would be classic coding, right? 4 to 6 years of studying, of working, being an apprentice, being a junior, leveling up slowly, super difficult, right? But if it was too easy, everyone would do it, so the reward would be next to nothing. So this is right in the middle. This is a fantastic deal. It's the right level of difficulty. Back to it. Again, you won't actually code. You don't need to know any programming of any kind. You will need to think logically and clearly explain what's on your mind, what you want to do. And that's a skill that you're going to have to develop throughout this course and through practicing. But you won't code, you won't actually read code. You're not supposed to understand everything that's going on in Cursor. No, one of the key principles that I want to teach you is this. You can spend all day, for example, creating memes, creating funny images to share with your friends, or on the flip side, you can create a platform that allows people to create memes, and then based on that, you can create a source of revenue. It's all about your focus, where you put your focus, and how you come up with ideas. I'm gonna have a lecture on that, so stay tuned. But yeah, what you focus on is one of the most important things. You gotta set the right goals and the right ambitions. But yeah, for now, we have Cursor installed, we have a dark interface, and we're about to create our first project. Now, one final thing. I'm gonna simplify a lot of stuff so it's easy to understand. If by any chance you're a coder with a lot of knowledge, with lots of experience, please understand that when you say that Cursor is a fork of VS Code, that really doesn't help a lot of people. Or when you say something like, pull up your terminal and run this quick Python script. Again, that's a bit overwhelming for most people. I'm not gonna do that. Now, I may oversimplify some stuff, but this is a course for people that are not technical. And I think that's the best way to go about it. Okay, I'm gonna see you in a second. Welcome back. Let's create our first website in Cursor. Before you start, please watch this lecture twice. The first time around, just watch and see what's happening. Then rewind from the start and pause to work along. You will have to pause quite often. Please don't try to work along on your first viewing. You won't be able to keep up. So again, please watch twice, and the second time, pause as often as you need to. Okay, let's launch Cursor and wait a few seconds until it loads up. The next step is what you're gonna do every time you wanna start a new project, and that's make a new folder. All our projects have to be organized into folders. One website, one folder. So let's open up our computer and create a new one. If you're on Windows, try to avoid the C partition, the C drive, because it may create some issues. Okay, call it whatever you want. I'm gonna use portfolio, but the name really doesn't matter. Of course, the folder is gonna be totally empty, right? Next, back to Cursor, maximize it so it takes up the entire screen. And now we're gonna open that folder. So nothing special so far, but that's how you start a new project in Cursor. And then attached to the course, you're gonna have a text file with a prompt, with a task. It's what we wanna build, and it's something quite basic. So this is what we're gonna paste here to the right side in this field. Now, after you paste, Control V, don't hit enter. First of all, we are in agent mode. This means the AI is gonna make all the code for us. We're not gonna use anything else, so it's all automatic. Next, from this dropdown, I'm gonna use Gemini 2.5 Pro. Please use the same one, or if it's not available for whatever reason, any of these other options listed on the screen. I'm gonna explain everything in detail later on, so please for now just carry on. Okay, here's the task. It's the following. Create a modern portfolio landing page for me, Chris Barron, 36, from Bucharest, Romania. I have 14 years experience in design. I'm an Adobe certified instructor, and I specialize in web and app design. I prefer a red and black color scheme, nice animations, and a portfolio section with 5 categories. Use placeholder images for now. It will be a single page with a main menu at the top that takes you down to that particular section that you click on. My office address is the following, and please add dummy reviews. Add a contact form for people to message me and show my phone number, as well as my social media profiles. Use best practices to build this landing page. Okay, good stuff. Please use the same task, but be aware it's totally normal for your design to look different. That's not an issue, that's how AI works. Now, in case this doesn't work at all, continue to the next lecture where we're gonna set everything up, and then you can come back and try again. Okay, now once we hit enter, we're off to the races. Notice this area here. This says it's generating. That means it's working. Here, in case you want to stop it, you can use this button, though you won't really do that. Inside this panel, you can see how the model thinks. And some models are very descriptive. They explain everything in detail. By the way, model or AI, it's the same thing. Here, this very washed out gray tells us what the model is thinking. And after a while, a different shade of text shows up. This one is easier to read. So let's pause. So basically, we have a washed out text that's hard to read. Those are the thoughts of the model. And then this text, this is the actual reply. So it's like being able to read someone's mind. And that's fascinating. Okay, now the AI says it's gonna start with an index file, and from here we can make sure the AI understood the task. Okay, great stuff. Now, after a few more seconds, the index file shows up in 2 places. On the left side, we can see where all the files are listed from that folder that we previously made. It was empty, now it has a new file, an index file inside it. Okay, and in the central part of the screen, we can see the contents of that file. But here's the thing, 99% of the time, you're gonna focus on the right side. Okay, now the next task is the CSS. This will style the code. It will make it look better, so to speak. Now, this is gonna take a few seconds, But please note, I will speed up the recording as sometimes this takes a while, quite a few minutes. Okay, now let's see what's next. A JavaScript file. Okay, cool stuff. We don't have to follow along. We could just grab a cup of tea, but it's a good idea to see how the AI thinks and how it works. Okay, right. We can see we have some instructions. These are for us. These are things we should do to finish the project. It's things like adding some images. Because we didn't provide any, the website will be quite empty, right? And the contact form won't actually work because it's not connected to anything. But that's all fine and well for the first exercise. Let's move ahead, and here we are. The AI finally stopped. You can see that it's no longer saying generating, and we have a new button here that says accept all. So let's click on it. That's how we commit. That's how we can save our progress. Of course, we could potentially read this summary, but in short, it says a basic version of the website is done, and we can launch it by using the index file. Okay, let's go back to the folder and open up that file. I'm gonna use Firefox to open it, but you can use any browser. And let's have a look. Here's our lovely website. Now, is it absolutely gorgeous, beautiful? No, of course not. But it took us a few minutes and we have something to work with. Because we didn't provide any images, the AI won't download anything from the web. So obviously the website looks a bit empty. But it did follow all the instructions from the text file. And the AI did say it optimized the design for mobile use. So let's right click and choose inspect. In Firefox, the button that I'm looking for is this one here. In case you simply can't find it, just resize your browser to a mobile phone size. But yeah, this looks good on a phone too. No surprises here. This is the power of vibe coding. You think about something, you type it out, and then after you hit enter in a few minutes, you get it. It may not be perfect, but we can build on it. So let's actually take another step. Let's change the color scheme. Let's say it's too dark for my taste, right? So let's change it to blue and white. I'm gonna tell the AI to do exactly that. You have to be natural in your language. You don't need to use any technical terms. The AI understands it and it starts editing the CSS file. Now, quick pause. When you see red lines, this means those parts are gonna be removed. And in this case, it's the old colors. And these greenish lines, they're not exactly green, they're greenish. Those are the new lines. So it all makes sense. When it's done, I'm gonna hit accept yet again. You're gonna have to constantly do that, by the way. Now we could potentially read the summary, but let's just go back to the browser and refresh. And yes, it's now white and blue. We're still in mobile mode, but that's totally fine. We can go over the website and right click, choose inspect yet again, and then we'll have to click the same button as before to get back to desktop mode. Or we could potentially just close it and open it again. But yeah, we're good. The AI gave us a new light colored scheme. Everything is nice and clean, nothing too special. But yeah, this is quite cool. Let's do one final step. Let's add a map instead of an address. So let's see how the AI manages that. As you're about to see in these lessons, there are quite a few limitations. The AI can't implement absolutely everything that you can think of. But a map, it should be able to do it. So let's have a look. Remember, always hit accept. And then when you're inside the browser, you can use the refresh icon, you can use the shortcut F5, or the hotkey Control R. It's up to you. And yes, this is a fully functional map that you can use. You can zoom in, you can zoom out, and this is awesome. This is vibe coding. You imagine it, you describe it, you get it. And then it's all about refining it so it's more like you imagined it. What I want you to do right now is create your own version starting with my text file. So create a new folder on your computer, then go to cursor to the top menu and use open folder. It's as easy as that to start a brand new project. Replace my name in the text file, change a few details, and then create it. When you're done, take a screenshot of the entire design and post it so I can see it. Now, before we end, for some people, this may not work. Cursor may give you various errors, issues. It may stop working. It may ask you to install stuff, and that's totally fine. We'll do all that setup very soon, and then you can come back to this lecture. So if you don't have a website, leave a comment so I know what issue you're facing, and then move ahead to the next lecture. Don't be disappointed. Remember, have fun with it. What should I build? I get it. I know that you may not be an entrepreneur or some tech whiz, but let me help you out with some quick ideas. Now, before that, I have to tell you one important thing. Execution is essential. Ideas are worthless. I'm gonna say that again. It's all about the execution. It's not the quality of the idea. I'm gonna expand at the end. So let's start with this website. I love img.com, right? This website shrinks your images. If you've ever worked with Photoshop, for example, you know that sometimes it's gonna give you huge file sizes, like 2, 3, 5 megabytes, right? Now with this platform, you drag and drop the images, and that's that. You cut down their size by 80% without losing quality. And it can also help you resize images quickly. Again, drag, drop, and that's that, right? And you have a few other features here, but the price, it's $4 to $7 per month. It's nothing. Even I signed up. So that's one idea. And here's one platform that changes your PDF to an Excel file so your accountant has an easier time with it. It's super niche, right? It's only for a select group of people, but this does $38,000 per month. $38,000 per month. Crazy stuff. And that's another one that's doing very well. This renames all of your photos. And that's it. That's the entire thing. That's the entire platform. So instead of calling them IMG 010203, it gives them a proper name, which is awesome for those cases where you go on a vacation and you have thousands of photos lying around, right? Again, this is a very specific service. Next, let's use this one, poly.com, which helps you post and schedule your content on all of your social media channels. This platform has one single person, one single guy behind it, is making over $1 million per year, Australian dollars, but still, and now he's trying to sell it. Now, let's take a break. These are not incredible ideas. These don't come from business geniuses, right? These are regular people that had an idea, they had a problem, and they fixed that problem. They executed that idea, and they did it well. There are maybe 50 other platforms like Poly, for example. Some more expensive, some cheaper. That's why I said it's all about the execution. And my advice, focus on the design side. Take something that's already been done 100 times before, add a beautiful design, a small twist, and you got yourself a business. Of course, you still need to promote it, you need to advertise, but that's a different story. Now, let me continue with a few other examples. Something a bit higher up. So here's Basecamp, a seemingly complicated platform that's focused on one thing, messages. It basically allows you to create a to-do list in a very similar way to Notion. Of course, there's a lot more to these platforms, a lot more features, but you start off with a simple idea and then you expand, you make it grow. For example, make an app that reminds you to get up from your chair every hour, right? That's a business, that's a service, that's an app, that's a platform. And that small idea may give you another source of income. How you monetize it, how you build an audience, that's a different thing again. That's besides this course. But I promise you, there are tons of platforms built around a very simple idea. Here's a WordPress extension that simply allows you to insert social media posts into your website. Super easy. And they make a lot of money, mostly passive, right? Now, I've seen paid WordPress extensions that allow you to add a bar with a custom message at the top or at the bottom of your website. And that's it. That's the entire thing. That's the entire plugin, the entire business. So the thing is, the sky is the limit. It's all about solving problems. Problems that you know, that you care about, that you want to solve for yourself. Still on WordPress, There's an app that helps you insert the Google Analytics code or Facebook ads tracking. And it's as easy as that. It's nothing too complicated. Now, a guy vibe coded a horoscope platform live on TikTok, and it's doing very, very well. Horoscope, whatever, it doesn't make any sense. It's not for me, but maybe it's for you. Now, another guy made a wallpaper app, but only for a specific type of anime. You don't have to make the next Uber or DoorDash. To get to 1, 5, 10K per month, you actually need to solve a problem for the small niche of people. But let's say you don't have any of these ideas, right? Well, we made a portfolio website, right? Why not offer this service to some local businesses? Find 100 of them in your area, in your city, in your country, and ask them for $1,000 or $80 per month. And you just made a good chunk of change. There are platforms that offer you lists of all the dentists in your city or country. Now, what matters is you find the right approach. Do you email them? Do you call them? Do you show up at the business? Do you charge $1,000 or $800? And of course, you don't have to do that only with dentists. Think about all the other businesses in your area that make good money, but they have horrible websites. In my part of the world, that's restaurants, that's lawyers, that's service shops, it's vets, the list goes on and on. There are countless web design agencies, of course, but yours can be different because you can specialize in one certain area that you may know very well, or that you're about to learn very well. You offer a good website already coded with little to no maintenance. This is why it's a race, because more and more people are gonna start offering the same thing, right? Because if you can do a website in 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, of course, what's the worth, right? Are you gonna charge maybe $600? The next guy is gonna charge $400, and all of a sudden from $1,000, you start offering it for pennies, right? So time is of the essence. This is why I said it pays to be early. But of course, there's no need to panic. There's more than enough for everyone to go around. So my advice, before you create anything that you want to sell, start with a few small, fun projects. Now let's pause. Hopefully, you can now see there's a world of opportunity, but you don't have to aim for the $100 million business. Just solve small problems like transforming square corners of an image into rounded ones, right? And that may be your first $100 per month. It sounds silly, I know, but social media is filled with stories like this one. It's called Building in Public, and it's a great way to advertise. You constantly post about your journey. This Building in Public movement is fantastic because you can actually get inspired by their projects, and you can also learn from their mistakes so you can avoid them. When you see their profiles, you can see that these are just regular people. So that's how you can get some inspiration. The guy that coded poly.com documented every step of his journey and how he grew it over the course of many years. He was totally alone. He coded everything the old-fashioned way. He was the only developer. But now, maybe you're alone, but you have the knowledge and the power of 100, 1,000 skilled developers in your corner for 15, 20, 25 bucks a month, right? So it won't take you years to build your project. You may fail at marketing, but then you can do it another time and another time and another time. You can try again, you can fail fast, you can learn, and then at one point you're gonna have success. Whether it's big or small, it's up to you. It's in your hands. But yeah, now the question is, what do you want to build? It may be silly, it may be small, but if you keep trying and learning, I promise you're gonna have results. Welcome back. Let's fire up Cursor so we can explore the interface. This may change on your end, but the basics will always be here. Because we don't have any project opened up, the interface is quite basic. We can open up an existing project or launch a new one by opening a brand new folder, an empty folder, or we could use GitHub to start one. But we're gonna keep it simple, and we're gonna create a new folder anywhere on our computer, and then we're gonna open it in Cursor. Now, even with an empty project, the interface, to be fair, doesn't change that much, but we do see a few key areas. On the left side, we can see all the files in that specific folder. Right now, it's totally empty. We just made it. But let's do this. Let's add a random text file inside that folder. Now, we could do that from cursor directly, but let's just do it the old-fashioned way. So any random text file. The file should show up right here. If you don't see it, you do have a refresh icon if you move your mouse in this area. And once you click it, you can use the centered part of the screen to edit that file. But the key to vibe coding is right here in this panel. This is where you talk to the AI. In case you can't see it, use the hotkey Control L, but by default you should see it. But yeah, Control L. We are gonna go back to this panel in a moment. For now, let's go to the top menu to Terminal. From this list, choose New Terminal. And that's gonna open up a panel at the bottom. Here we're gonna see several tabs, but we're only interested in the terminal. Now, from time to time, this area may show us various issues, errors, it's gonna show us some progress, and we may have to paste some commands or simply hit enter. But yeah, to keep it short, to recap, 90% of the time you're gonna look here in this right panel, and maybe 10% of the time you're gonna check out the terminal at the bottom, though in most cases even the terminal is gonna pop up here in the right side. Now the rest really doesn't matter all that much. In case the interface is too small, you can use the hotkey Control Plus to make it bigger. This should help you see everything without any effort. So that's Control Plus. If you want to shrink it, use the opposite, Control Minus. Okay, great stuff. Even so, this dark interface may bother you. So here's how you can change it. Go to the top menu to File. From here, go down to Preferences. Then look for Theme. And finally here, click on Color Theme. Right now, after you click on any of these choices, the window is gonna close, which is not ideal. But open it up again, File, Preferences, Theme, Color Theme, and then choose any of them. It's up to you, but I really like the darker ones. Okay, now let's focus back to the interface, to the chat interface. The first thing you need to know is that for the vibe coding, we always want to have this set to agent. The other modes are for developers with a lot of experience that want to use the AI to improve their code writing, to make it better, to help them write code. But we don't want to do that, so that's why we're going to set it to agent, which simply means the AI will do most of the work. Next, up top, you can reference a file from within the project, basically point the AI towards it. Now, just to be clear, the AI is going to change all the files that are inside the project folder. It can work on any of them. That's how you basically keep things separated. If you want to start a new project, you create another empty folder in a different place on your computer, and then you go to the top menu to File, Open Folder. So that's how you keep things separate. It's like everything. When you install games, programs, when you copy images from a vacation, everything should be nicely organized into proper folders. So that's how you switch from project to project. You basically go to File, Open Folder, right? Or another approach that's basically the same thing. You can go to the top menu to File, and from here you can choose New Window. And basically then you can open up a folder and it's basically the same thing. Now you can drag images into the chat. That's why you have this icon here. You can click on it or you can drag and drop, but we're gonna do that later. As I already said, you can also reference certain files if you want the AI to focus on them. Right now you can see the text document is shown right here, and that's telling the AI that you wanted to pay closer attention to it. You can go over it and click on the X symbol to remove it. We're gonna chat about that later on. The final important setting here is this part where you choose your model. That's gonna dramatically change your results. Let's talk about models in the next lecture. For now, please change your interface to a new theme, increase the size by using Control Plus, and create a new folder on your computer and open it up in Cursor just so you get used to that flow. Okay, I'm gonna see you in a second. Welcome back. There are a few tools that you can install on your computer so Cursor can do a better job, especially if you want to do the least amount of work possible. And that's what we want to do. Now, we're not going to give the AI complete control. Instead, we're going to install some very well-known software that's going to help Cursor work better. So first of all, we have to install Python. By the way, you have a file attached to the course, so don't worry about it. You have all the links, you don't need to write them down. Please work along on your second viewing. Okay, this is the official website, and we'll click on the latest Python release for the Windows in my case. In this new page, we're gonna have to scroll down, and under the Files section, we are gonna find the download link. Sure, there are a few choices, but here's the thing, look for the recommended label. That makes it easy. So we'll download it and install it. Now there's one important thing here, this second checkbox here. Now I'm not gonna get into details because that would really sidetrack us, so just check both of these boxes and we're gonna be good to go. It takes a moment, but there's nothing special going on. Sometimes Python won't install correctly, and I have a lecture about that. Now to check and see if your installation is good, click on the Start menu and then type in CMD. CMD is short for command. Again, you have all of this attached and you have something for Mac users as well. Now this is what I want you to type here in command prompt. And if you see something like this, you're good to go. Most likely you're gonna have a newer version, but that's fine. As long as there are no warnings, you're gonna be good. Now, in case you can't manage, you can do the following thing. You can go to Cursor, to the top menu, to Terminal. Here, start the new one. And you're gonna be able to see it right here. Type in the same thing, PNY, and you're gonna see if it works. On my end, it's all good. Now, before we go on, I gotta say I'm not gonna explain every single piece of software because it's counterproductive. Instead, I'm gonna attach a file with a few details about every program, but these are very well known and there's nothing to worry about. They're gonna be good. So again, I'm gonna focus on practical things. For me, the goal is quite simple. Create websites as fast as possible. Learning about Python right now won't really help. It's gonna make your head spin. So let's keep this short. So Python is checked off the list. Ideally, you would restart your computer, but here I'm gonna continue even though that may cause some issues. Next on my list, Node.js LTS version. This is a must-have and it's really gonna help us. Now, during the installation process, it may ask you if you wanna install a few other tools. We wanna make sure that we check that option, we want that. So this is gonna show you another window with a lot of text, and I do mean a lot. It doesn't ask us for anything, but you may have to wait for a few minutes while it does its thing. I'm gonna speed up the recording, but please on your end, have patience. One funny thing though, on my end, it says it can't actually find Python even though it's 100% installed. Now a restart could have potentially solved this issue, but yeah, I know it's installed, so it's not a big deal. The thing is, after a while, this installation process, well, it simply stops. But here's the thing. Open up another command prompt, CMD, and type in the following, node and then version. Remember, you don't have to memorize these commands, they're all attached. Okay, yeah, you can see my version here, we're good to go. Next on my list, PowerShell 7. We are on the official Microsoft Store, and this tells us there are many ways of installing it. It may seem a bit overwhelming, but actually it's quite simple. We're gonna use this method, winget. This is the recommended method, so that's why we're gonna use it. Here there are only two steps. This is the first one. You open up command prompt, you click here to copy this text, and then you paste it. You're gonna get a question here. Type in Y as in yes, and then hit enter. And you're gonna see there are two versions available. Now, preview simply means it's like a beta version, something that's usually less stable, experimental. So we're not gonna do that, we're gonna choose the other one, the first one. Okay, now to install it, copy this command. Again, not the preview version, that's a bit lower down, this one here. And then paste it in command prompt and hit enter. And of course, after a few seconds, this is gonna install. Okay, fast forward. To test it out, open up your start menu and type in the following. It's push, but with a W, and you should see PowerShell 7 available. Okay, we are doing very well. Let's continue with GitHub. We need to make an account, but like with everything else, it's totally free. So you gotta put in your email address and then you gotta verify it. But yeah, after that, you're pretty much good to go. GitHub is very much needed, even though it may be quite intimidating. As you're about to see, we're gonna focus on the essentials, and soon enough, you're gonna be comfortable with it. Okay, great stuff. Next, let's install Docker. This may be optional, it may be considered optional, but I had quite a few issues because we didn't have it installed, so I would much rather install it and then be done with it. This is one of the slowest programs out there. It's totally free, there's not a lot that you have to do, but it's quite slow. So you gotta be patient with it. After this is ready, and again, please be patient, you will have to create an account. But the thing is, we already have a GitHub account, right? So rather than putting in our email and registering the old-fashioned way, why not use the GitHub account, right? It's much faster. So click on the icon, that's the GitHub icon, and then you're gonna be golden. Okay, there are a few other things here, but as I work in the background, let me explain what's going on. So we're about to cook many dishes in the kitchen. We're gonna cook breakfast, lunch, dinner. We're gonna make desserts, we're gonna make snacks, we're gonna make full-blown meals, quite a lot of variation, right? So this means we gotta have a fully stocked fridge and utensils. We need ingredients, we need knives, forks, spoons, the works, right? This is what we're doing right now. Now, are we gonna use absolutely everything in every single dish? No, some tools are only specific to certain projects, but it's much easier to prepare everything right now versus trying to find them while you cook. That's gonna be horrible. That's a bad experience. See, when you get issue after the issue in Cursor because you're missing this or that, you're gonna waste time, you're gonna waste energy, and of course credits, which basically mean money. So this is why I strongly suggest you install everything right now. You pause often, you get through it, and then you're gonna be flying. Okay, good stuff. Next, we're gonna install something called Git for the Windows. Now, this program is gonna have a lot of settings, a lot of checkboxes, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna use the default values every single step. Now, you could potentially pause, but just accept everything as it's set up because Cursor is gonna manage everything. So just hit next and it's gonna be good to go. Now, I realize that this isn't all that comfortable, but this is gonna make the AI work much better, much faster, and it's not gonna bother us every single step. It's not gonna ask us to confirm stuff. It's not gonna ask us to do stuff. Now, when we'll create various projects in Cursor, all of these programs and accounts are gonna come in handy. So that's why we're installing them right now. Stick with me, we're just about done. Okay, fast forward and we have just a few accounts to make. But these are an instant, it's just one click or so. Vercel is the first one. We are gonna use it to host our websites, so everyone can see them. Again, this is totally free for now, so don't worry about it. Sign up by using GitHub to simplify the process. Of course, pause as often as you need to and review the file that's attached. So that's Vercel. Next, we're gonna use a platform called resend.com to send emails. This is totally free for up to 3,000 emails per month. So this is awesome for getting started. Remember, we made our portfolio website, but the AI told us that the form would not work because it's not connected to anything. Well, Resend fixes that. Good stuff. And one final account is Supabase, which is fantastic for databases, for complex projects, which we might do later on in the course. This is very much needed, but again, later on. It's one click though, so why not get it out of the way? But yeah, believe it or not, we are done with these tools. There are a few other settings in Cursor, but we're gonna do that after you catch up. For now, please pause, install everything, review the attachment, and only continue after you've gone through the checklist. Remember, be patient and install everything. Welcome back. We've installed quite a few things like Python, Node.js, and PowerShell, but there are a few things we can do in Cursor as well. The first one is rules, and you can get to this section by focusing on the top right side of Cursor. Click here on this gear icon to open up Cursor settings. You're gonna see it opened up right here, and there are a few things to choose from. Let's start with rules. So here there are two main choices. It's user rules and project rules. We're interested in the first one. You have a file attached that's called exactly that. All that you have to do is paste the content inside Cursor. In short, this tells Cursor how it should act. It's like telling someone how we like our coffee. And it's quite basic stuff. We want Cursor to be efficient. We want it to use best practices. We want it to be safe and cover up sensitive information, and so on. You can find templates for rules on the web, or you can simply use mine. I got it from the web as well. We chose user rules because we want Cursor to apply them to every single project. Now on the flip side, project rules would be specific to this single project. For example, let's imagine that we switch to a mobile app project on iOS, right? We may have different requirements, right? Different rules. But since we're gonna focus on web design work in this course, we wanna keep it simple. So it's quite easy, paste those rules, and that's gonna be that. We want them applied everywhere. Next, in Cursor, we're gonna click on MCPs. I'm not gonna dwell on the technical stuff. It's quite simple. These are gonna help us quite a lot. Now, here's the thing. In short, this is gonna give the AI more control. If we don't use these MCPs, we would have to do more work. We would have to write more code. We would have to type in more commands and move stuff around. That's not great. For example, we're gonna have a GitHub MCP. That's gonna allow the AI to make a new project all on its own. It will allow it to upload everything automatically. Basically do everything on its own without us having to follow certain instructions. I hate it when the AI tells me what I have to do. So MCPs are fantastic, and once they're set up, the AI will use them as needed. These are basically tools for the AI in case it needs them. Now at this time, this interface is not beginner friendly, but I'm gonna help you out. You have a file attached that you simply have to copy paste and then replace a few keys. This is the file, and here are the things that you have to replace. First of all, let me show you how to remove or add one, just in case you want to add an MCP or remove an MCP. You select the entire file, Ctrl-A, then you copy it, Ctrl-C. Next, you open up chatgpt.com. You don't need an account, you can use it totally for free. Then you say something like, remove the Supabase MCP from this code, and then you simply paste it. You hit enter, and that's gonna be that. ChatGPT is gonna give you the updated code, so you don't have to worry about opening and closing brackets with whatever else. And it's the same thing if you wanna add something. So yeah, that's how you do it. I'm gonna stick to my original list, and that's what I recommend you do as well. So with the original text file that you have attached, go back to Cursor to MCP and click to add it. I'm quite sure that this interface is going to change in the future. It's going to be more beginner friendly, but for now, it is what it is. Okay, once you paste, you have to switch tabs. You have to go back to Cursor settings. Here, you're going to find a list of all the MCPs that are set up. Green means they're good to go. Anything else is not ideal. In case you have issues with some of them, continue watching. I'm gonna show you how you can fix them. Now, there's a limit to how many MCPs you can install. There's a limit to how many tools they can use. Now, they're so great, you may want to add tons of them, but over 40 tools in total is a no-go, at least for now. Now, you may say, hey, Chris, but it's only a few entries here. We have GitHub, we have memory, sequential thinking. These are not 40 items. You are correct, but it's tools, not items. See, every MCP has all of these tools. That's the actual limit. 40 tools in total. GitHub alone has over 20. but it's so useful that we're gonna keep it. Just a few words about them though, just so it's a bit clear. Sequential thinking, this is gonna help the AI break down the task into smaller bits. It will help keep track of them, those smaller bits, and it's gonna give us a much better result. It's basically helping the AI not lose focus. It's gonna keep track of everything. It's basically a checklist. Or the file system MCP. This is gonna allow the AI to make folders, to move files around, to cut, to delete, and so on. This is critical because some projects are gonna have lots and lots of files and folders, and you really don't wanna dig through them. You don't wanna move them around on your own. Letting the AI do it for you is totally awesome. But let's put in your keys, because again, you have to connect some of them with your personal keys. So let me show you how that works, starting with GitHub. Now you can use Google and look for GitHub Personal Access Token, or you can do this. You can go back to your browser to github.com. From there, you can go to Account Settings, and from here on the left side at the bottom, you're gonna see Developer Settings. And from this new window, you're gonna see exactly what we want. Personal Access Token. We want the classic one. So create it, but be aware that you will have to set up a name, an expiration date, 90 days is what I recommend, and then you're gonna have to check off absolutely everything. It's a lot of clicking. I know you're sick of these settings, but I promise you this is gonna make our lives that much easier. But yeah, once you're ready, you're gonna have the key, just paste it in and that's that. Make sure you always hide it. It's only gonna show it to you once for security purposes. Think of it like your credit card number. Now for the Supabase, it's much easier, nothing too complicated. But let me tell you this just so it's super mega clear. Never ever show your keys to anyone. It's like showing your credit card number on the internet. It's not a good idea. You gotta keep it safe. You gotta not show it to anyone else. That's why most platforms are only gonna show you your key once. If you lose it, you're gonna have to make another one. It doesn't cost you anything to make a new key, but it's not a good idea to have whatever 15 keys randomly in your account, not knowing which is which. So keep it safe, paste it, and then that's that. Now, we're basically done. You can pause, you can set up everything on your own, and make sure you're up to date. If you have any issues, don't worry. In the next video, I'm gonna show you how we can fix them. So keep that in mind. For now, go ahead and get to work. Welcome back. Issues are bound to come up, and the most frustrating thing, it can be anything. You're gonna have issues specific to your computer, to your operating system, to your project. For example, if you have an antivirus, you may struggle for days and no tutorial can help. That's why I want to show you how I learned to deal with these cases, how I did it on my own. For example, let's say the Git MCP server doesn't work and it says it's due to Python. Now we installed Python and it seemed fine, right? So what I did was I copied the error and then I used Google. I found a few things on Stack Overflow, which is a platform for developers. I tried different solutions, but none of them worked. Now to be clear, I'm not a developer. I have no idea what's the problem. Now how you handle these situations, these issues, that's gonna determine your level of success. So I repeat, you're gonna follow instructions, be it from this course or from the web, but things won't work. And how you manage to handle that, that's gonna determine your success. Here, I tried a few things and then I switched to chatgpt.com. You can use it for free or you can sign up. I do recommend you sign up even though it's another subscription. I used this model, which is very good for reasoning. And I told it exactly what's happening. Hey, I'm using Cursor AI and I'm getting this issue. The first solution it gave me seemed a bit too complicated for my taste, so I just skipped it. I just moved on to the second one. Here I had no idea what these meant, but I just started pasting in CMD and that was that, you know. The first line didn't seem to help, so then I just moved on to the next one. And here's the thing, after a few seconds, it installed something and I had a feeling it worked. So I went back to the program, I refreshed, and yeah, it was all good. I have no idea why, but that was the fix. Now, this was one single situation. Here's a different case. On a different computer, the Git MCP doesn't work, but for a different reason. I don't know why, and I want to be totally transparent. I don't plan on learning this stuff. Instead, I'm going to use the same method as before. I'm going to ask GPT about it, preferably O3, because O3 is the most advanced reasoning model, so it's very good at logic and coding. But if you don't have access to GPT, to ChatGPT, you could potentially use the chat window in Cursor, and you're probably gonna get a similar result. Now here in ChatGPT, I told it what's going on, and after about 90 seconds, it gave me a step-by-step plan. So first of all, I have to install something by using PowerShell, and here's the exact command. Okay, I think that's simple enough. I'm gonna use the start menu, I'm gonna type in push, but with a W, or just simply PowerShell. And then inside PowerShell, I'm just gonna copy paste that command and hit enter. And again, it seems like it's installing something. I'm really not sure what. It's doing various things. But yeah, I think it's good to go. Now for the next step, it gave me a different command, but it's insisting I open up a new terminal. Okay, I'm gonna type in push yet again, and then I'm gonna paste that in. Of course, that raises an issue. I've copied two different lines, which is not ideal. It should be one by one, but no matter, I'm gonna paste it anyway. And yeah, I think this is actually good to go. Okay, now we gotta restart the program. Let's not skip that. I'm happy I don't have to restart the computer. Now, we're gonna have to wait for the second, but yeah, after this loaded up, you can hit the refresh button from the right side, and basically that's that. Victory, no more error. This is great stuff. Now, to be fair, this is in a different program than Cursor, that's why it looks a bit different, but the point still stands. On your end, you're gonna have other issues. But remember one thing, once you solve them, you're gonna be good to go. It won't come up again. The crucial thing is you gotta remain calm. That's the essence of vibe coding. You don't have to know how to code, but you do have to A, have patience, B, ask the right questions, and C, the most important thing, try stuff until it works. Now here's the thing, we have ChatGPT, but we also have Cursor that uses ChatGPT, right? Well, GPT 4.1. Why not use Cursor, right? Because basically I'm trying to protect my credits. Instead of using one credit, I would much rather use chatgpt.com, where I have a separate subscription and I can ask as many questions as I want without any limitations. So that's why I prefer using chatgpt.com and I have a subscription, because it's basically unlimited questions. Whereas in Cursor, every single conversation, every single time you hit enter, one credit goes down. So that's why I'm doing it like this. But yeah, that wraps it up. You're bound to have headaches. It happens. In tutorials, it's always A, B, C, and success, right? But in your case, you may spend hours on step B, on the second step, and you're stuck and you can't proceed. As long as you keep my advice in mind, patience, ask the right questions, and try stuff until it works, you're gonna be just fine. Remember, this is the price to pay for being so early, but there are so many advantages that overall this is a fantastic deal. And with that, welcome back. LLMs are large language models, and they're the main thing that Cursor uses. So all the intelligence comes through these LLMs, which most people call models. That's what we'll use as well. AI, LLMs, models, they're the same thing. So just to be clear, Cursor is the main program, but most of its intelligence comes from these models that come from different companies. Cursor is a pipe where the models are the water. Now, could the water flow without any pipes whatsoever? Sure, of course, but the water would go all over the place, right? Cursor makes sure you're getting more of what you want, so that's why we're using it. Otherwise, we could potentially just sign up to one specific company and use their models. But that would be much more limiting and substantially more expensive, especially if you want to use multiple companies and multiple models. Now, this is why Cursor is a much better choice. Through Cursor, you get access to most of the companies and to most of the models out there. That's why when you click here, you can choose from quite a few of them. Actually, there's quite a lot more. You have to load them up. But these are the mainstream ones and these are the recommended ones in short. Now the key question, the million-dollar question, which one should you use, right? The short answer is, it really depends. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna compare them. I'm gonna give the top ones the same task so we can compare the results. You have the task attached, so you're gonna do the same thing on your second viewing. For now, just look and see what's going on. Now, one thing, models change often. So what's slow today may be quite fast tomorrow. So that's something to be aware of. Things constantly change. Now, I'm going to be using a pro plan, so I'm going to have access to the latest Claude 4 model. But if you're using the free plan, you're going to have to use the 3.5 model. But as you're about to see, that's not really an issue because our goal is to get a sense of these models through testing them, so it really doesn't matter what you use right now. Now, to keep this short, I already made 3 empty folders on my computer. The names really don't matter, but I wanted to clearly label them so you know what's what. To make it a bit more interesting, I attached some images to the course. Now, hopefully the models will be able to use them. For that to happen, I'm going to copy that folder inside the Claude 4 project location. That's the first one. So that should help the model make a more beautiful website, right? Now I'm going to show you the task in a second, but first we have to help the model by pointing out the images to tell the model they're there. I like to give clear instructions. Use the images from this folder and then add the path, the exact location of the images. Now to get the path, go inside that folder and click on this area. And you're gonna see something like this. That's what we need to paste inside the text file. Okay, again, make sure you work along on your second viewing and pause as often as you need to. Okay, the prompt is ready and now we can copy it. Back to Cursor, there's no project loaded up, so let's choose Open Folder. We'll now have to navigate to our computer and find that location, but that's nothing special. Once the interface is loaded up, get a prompt and paste it in the chat. Make sure you select Claude 4 or Claude 3.5 if you're in the trial mode. Okay, now I'm gonna make my interface just a bit bigger so it's easier to follow along. Okay, let's go. Now, immediately Claude 4 is planning a lot of moves. I've paused the recording because, as you can see, there are quite a few steps here. Now remember, washed out text means we're seeing what the model is thinking, but it hasn't replied just yet. After a second, it does acknowledge the task, it understands it, and it says it's gonna make a beautiful website. It then says it's gonna use HTML5, CSS3, and vanilla JavaScript. Okay, this is fairly important because if we know what the model uses, we can potentially fix any issue with a lot more ease. We know what to Google for, right? And now it started making the index file. Now, what I want to say yet again is that you have to be patient. I'm going to change the speed of the recording from time to time so we won't wait too much. Actually, I think having a timer somewhere in the corner may be a good idea, so let me add that. That's one way of comparing these models. Okay, the index file is loaded up and the CSS file is next. Now, the CSS file determines the style of the project, the look. It seems that Claude wants to use the red, pink, and dark blue color scheme along with a specific font called Fridoka. So it came up with this specific typeface. Interesting. Well, this is taking quite some time. If you check the files, you're actually gonna see hundreds of lines of code. So I think the wait is warranted. Don't rush it, right? Claude does not hesitate, but it does take a bit of time to write out all the code. One cool feature, Claude is creating a README file. This is useful and I do appreciate the model doing that. Of course, we have to compare it to other models to see what's what, but yeah, overall, so far, good stuff. And yeah, it's finally done. So let's accept everything and check it out. So about 3.5 minutes or so in total. And the website looks good. Actually, this is better than good. I like the gradient in the main menu, the chunky font, this is quite lovely. The entire color scheme is actually on point, but I do have to say I'm a bit disappointed about the map. It didn't add a functional one. We have to sign up and give it a key for it to work. Okay, but other than that, the newsletter area, that's solid. The footer looks awesome. This is a great result in just a few minutes. Have a look at the mobile version as well. That's a good thing to check. In some cases, there may be alignment issues or various problems. And here, surprisingly, look at some of these issues. Wow, this is shocking. So the top navigation is fixed, which is a great idea, sure, but it's actually covering the main headline. That's super surprising. And in the central part, in the hero area, I can't say that I'm in love with this layout. Text on the left, photo on the right, and then this button is quite separated at the bottom. It's too far away. Though to be fair, the headline is also quite far away. This is the most important area and I don't think it's good enough. And there's also something to be said about the Instagram feed. It's not correct. Sure, it's a somewhat tricky task, it's a challenge, but here's the thing. For the map, it said we needed a key, and it gave us some instructions. Okay, cool. But for the Instagram feed, it just made one up based on my photos. This is not great because it can confuse us. It's somewhat deceitful. If it can't make it work, if it can't implement it, okay, just say so, right? This is quite dangerous for the vibe coding because we may look at something and we might assume, okay, it's working, when in fact it's not. So this is a bit of a red flag. We do have to continue with our comparison and then we can have a better idea about Claude 4. But yeah, this is quite interesting. For now, please don't work along, continue to the next lesson and then it's going to be your turn. I'm going to see you in a second. Back. We saw how Claude 4 did. Ups and downs, but we gotta compare it to something so we have a better sense of these models. So let's get to work with Gemini from Google. So start by pasting the images inside that folder and add that location to the text file. That's quite important. Now you're soon gonna get used to this approach where you constantly make new projects. Make a new folder, then open it up, then make sure the settings are right, and then it's off to the races. Okay, so Gemini is a Google product and lots of people have very high hopes for it. Let's see how it does in our case. Now, the train of thought is super fast and it has a lot of detail in it. But let's see what the actual reply is. And we can see that Gemini wants to use a different technology versus Claude. Okay, it wants to use React and Vite, which may not tell us much because we're not coders. But it's an interesting difference, that's worth noting. Another thing here, now for the image assets, Gemini is saying that it first has to know what images are inside that folder. And if we can list them ourselves, so we have to list the photos. Okay, this is shocking actually, this is very unexpected. Claude immediately saw the photos. Now, to be fair, we could have provided fewer photos or named them in the same format in the same way, like IMG01 or whatever. But yeah, overall, this is a comparison between models. We're giving these models the same computer, the same task for exactly this reason, to compare them. Okay, anyway, moving on. With this tech approach, the model is gonna make a few different files, starting with package.json. Okay. Again, we don't really care, but it's nice to notice these things. As you get more and more familiar with these models, you should get used to these approaches. And okay, at the 2-minute mark, I think we may be already done. Okay, cool. We can see a huge summary here. I'm just gonna skip over it for the purpose of this recording. In real life, I do suggest you read everything the model says, because there may be key information there. But yeah, here I'm just gonna accept everything and see how I can launch the project. Because we're using a different tech approach, the index file may not be the key to opening the project. And if we focus on the chat, we can see in the third step that we need to run a development server. Okay, that's interesting. But here's the thing, in number 4, it says the feed is just a placeholder and that we need a key if we want to use a real one. Okay, so I do appreciate that. You can see how the personality of this model comes through. Now, I'm not saying that it's better than Claude's, but it's something to note. It said it can't do it. You have to provide a key. Okay, good stuff. Now, let's try to open the localhost link, but I'm quite sure it won't work because Gemini is asking us to run a server. I don't want to do that on my own, so here's what I'm going to do. You do step number 1. And immediately, you see here the model says, okay, I'll do it, which is a bit funny considering it could have done it before, right? Keep in mind, every command, every time we hit enter, that's costing us some money. So some people may be a bit unhappy about this approach. If you know what to do and how to do it, then just do it, right? So something is happening in the console, npm install, and after a while it tells us again we gotta do 2 things. We have to add images, rename them, but more importantly, step number 3, we gotta run the server. I don't wanna run the server on my own. Though to be fair, it's quite easy to do, but that's not the point. So I'm gonna say this, skip the images, continue with step 3. And that should be it. I think we should be able to have a look at our website with over 3.5 minutes, and the experience has been, well, it's been vastly different. But let's see what's up. Okay, so at the first glance, we can see the images are missing, no surprise. The main menu is nice and clean. It's interesting to see the map is already up and running versus Claude. We don't have an Instagram feed and it told us why that's the case. So it didn't confuse us like Claude. Then FAQ newsletter, overall quite good. One thing that's really bugging me is the product photos though. So let's look at the prompt and see if we can adjust it. I think I didn't give it the exact path. I think I pointed to the general Gemini folder, but not the actual photos. The thing is, the model should be able to do anything inside that folder. So I don't really think that's the issue. Still, let's try this again. Let's tell the model the photos are there inside the project. Just add them to the project. Use them, right? Let's see if that fixes it, though I really doubt it. Okay, fast forward and no, it says it can't access them, which is a lie. And that I have to provide the exact file names for 8 product images. I would hate to rename them on my own. Funny enough, the model did create a new folder called public/images, which tells me that the model does have access to that location. It can create stuff, it can delete stuff, it can move stuff. But yeah, let's move ahead and have a quick look at the mobile version. Okay, overall, it's been a decent experience, but asking me to rename those files is not ideal. The mobile version looks good. I actually think it's better than Claude's. But yeah, overall, let's wrap this up. Let's move on to GPT 4.1. I'm gonna skip the setup so we can save a bit of time. Now, immediately 4.1 gives us a plan. It tells us it's gonna use a React-based project with Vite. Okay, fine by us. And it gives us a step-by-step approach. Okay, cool. Now, here's the first major difference. It's asking us to review the plan and tell it if we want to adjust it, if we want to change stuff. Okay, now on one end, this consumes another credit, more money. On the flip side, it does give us the chance to make sure the model understood the task, the project. Now, overall, I'm leaning more towards this being a bad thing for my taste. And it's a personal preference. See, I don't want to hold its hand. I don't know what I don't know, right? I'm looking for it for guidance. I have no idea if Vite is a good idea, if React is good, right? So I need to be able to trust it. If it tells me that the Instagram feed is done when it's not, when it's a fake one, that's not a good idea. If it's asking me for guidance again, that's not ideal. But okay, let's continue. And here's the thing, after a few seconds, it's asking me to confirm we want to install Vite. Okay, this is where you have to be careful. You actually have to type in Y in this part here and hit enter. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck. So this is not really obvious, but this is why these lessons are so essential. But now here's the big issue. After you accept, you gotta choose a framework. And boy, there are many. Because I'm not a developer, I'm not sure what I should select. The model mentions something about React, but honestly, I'm not sure which one of them I should choose. And this is where GPT 4.1 is vastly different than the other two. Anyway, I'm gonna choose React and hopefully it will continue. But after the second, here's another big blow. It's asking for a variant, and there are many to choose from. This is supremely annoying because obviously we don't know. With vibe coders, we're not sure. We could potentially launch chatgpt.com and ask it about it. We could even start a new conversation here inside Cursor and ask the model about the best approach. But I'm just gonna choose one at random, the first one, TypeScript, and continue. This is far from ideal for the vibe coders. Experienced developers, sure, they won't have any problems, but for us, it's not looking good. We were previously upset at Gemini for not being able to find some photos, but I think this is much worse. Here's where I got worried for a bit. I was thinking this is stuck. I thought this app.tsx file just froze everything, but I think it's actually just a very big file. So have a look at the timer to see when I speed up the recording. As this is working, let me tell you, these results are not definitive. On your end, you may have a vastly different experience. If I try this exact experiment once again, I may have completely different results. There are lots of people doing these head-to-head comparisons, but one thing that's for certain is that results vary. One model may be slow today, but fast tomorrow. So these companies have the ability of updating these models in such a way where they simply work better. And some people argue that in different parts of the day, some models degrade. So something like a rush hour at 5 p.m. where everybody leaves work at the same time. So if you work in the morning, the model is faster, but if you work late at night, it's horrible, stuff like that. Now, I can't say for certain that happens, but I have to be clear that results will vary. No matter why, they will vary. But yeah, let's see what's up. So I'm getting a success message here on the right side. It says it's now set up. But on the left side, we can see that the terminal is clearly having some issues. This can be quite confusing. I'm gonna stop the timer though and see what's up. Let me find the index file and see how the website looks like. But to be honest, I'm quite skeptical. And yeah, here it's not working. When this happens, talk to the model. Tell it exactly what's happening. The index file is blank. And hopefully the model is gonna check everything and see the issue. This is why we're doing this comparison, right? But that's not what's happening here. We can see a summary where, well, there's nothing really that clear. So we need another message. Help me see the website in my browser. The goal is to have the model make any changes and fixes, right? We could copy paste that error into Google and see what's up. But first, I want to give the model a chance to fix it on its own. But no, it's not working. We can try again, but it's obviously gonna fail. So the best answer is to give the model the error. So just copy paste it. In most cases, you're gonna see the model say something like, oh yeah, you're totally right. And yes, here it seems that it ran a command in a different folder, a silly mistake. Anyway, it really doesn't matter. It's done. And I would say this took about 10 minutes or so for this model alone. So much slower than the other ones. But let's have a look. I can't say that I'm blown away. The entire website is offset towards the left. No idea why, to be honest. We can see the images are lacking and the reviews are shown in an ugly gray. We do have a working map, and this is the only model that gave me an actual Instagram feed. And it's a real one, not a fake one. There is no footer, and by the looks of it, I think the mobile version, I think it's gonna be horrible. Yeah, so overall, what's the verdict? Clearly, there are pluses and minuses. For me, I personally prefer Claude 4 a model that's currently available if you have the $20 plan. If you want to stick to the free plan, you have to switch to Claude 3.5, which is pretty good as well. But this is a preference thing. It's Pepsi versus Coke, Android versus iPhone. You do you. These models come from giant companies that throw billions of dollars at these problems. There is no best phone. And on the same end, there's no best model. Things constantly change. For now, I like Claude 4. Tomorrow, I may switch to a different one. What's important is you test everything on your end with the exact same prompt. Do exactly like I did here and tell me your experience. Tell me the good, the bad, the horrible. Let me know in the comments section what's what, and please post some screenshots. I want to see what's up. Welcome back. I want to address something that's quite important, and that's range anxiety. And here's the thing, your monthly plan comes with a certain amount of credits, 500 credits as of right now, right? You pay a certain sum and you get to use those 500 credits. It's 20 bucks at the moment. Now here's how this goes, the simple version. In the free plan, you start off with a 2-week trial of the pro plan. This means that at the moment, you get 150 credits or requests. To see how many you've spent, you can go to your dashboard on cursor.com. This is my current use in this brand new account. You can see I have a total of 150 requests because again, I'm on the 2-week trial. Now on their website, you may see a different number or there may be a promotion, but as of now, that's the situation. Okay, now this means that you fire up Cursor, you choose one of their models, say Gemini 2.5, and every time you hit enter, you've spent one request. This is where the range anxiety comes from. You start with 150, then 149, then 140, and after this course, maybe you're gonna be left with 20, right? That's when the panic starts to kick in. It's easy to get fixated on that number. Now, if you subscribe to the Pro plan, which I recommend, 20 bucks, now you're gonna get 500 per month. You previously saw how we made a decent landing page with 2, 3, 5 requests. And if you wanna polish it, maybe it's gonna take you anywhere from 20 to 50 requests. It really matters what you want, how good your instructions are, and what model you're using. Before we continue this discussion about pricing, we do have to address the elephant in the room. The cost varies. So some models are incredibly expensive, while other ones may be completely free. From time to time, there are various promotions. For example, OpenAI gave us GPT 4.1 and o4 for free. Yes, for free for 10 days or so. Now, at the moment, GPT 4.1 consumes one request, while Claude 4 Sonnet, the thinking version, requires 2 every time you hit enter. So it's twice as expensive, right? So that complicates things quite a lot, you know? And here's the kicker. Sometimes you give a model a prompt, a task, you want it to do something, and then that model does 20 things, one after the other, right? It executes everything on its own, and you're just a passenger. So with one request, you make a whole lot of progress. The model breaks down a huge task into smaller ones, and then bit by bit, it checks them off. It works on its own. Fabulous. But other models are different. You give it one prompt and it does one single step. Sometimes it actually tells you what you should do. So that's very frustrating. This is why the cost is relative. You may say, okay, 4.1 is cheaper, but if it has amnesia and it needs you to hold its hand every single step and give it 4, 5, 10 prompts, whereas Claude only asks you for one single prompt, then does the lower cost really make you happy? No, not really. Again, those are just random examples. I'm not saying that Claude is miles ahead of OpenAI with GPT 4.1 or whatever. So just bear that in mind. Now, on the flip side, some models are very expensive, even 10 times as expensive, O3 for example. Now, does that mean they're 10 times as good? No, that's not the case. Again, things change super fast and these models are gonna get better and better. So here's what I actually want you to take note of. The most important thing out of this lesson: running out of credits is not a big deal. Even if you go through all 500 and you don't have a completed project, which is almost impossible to be honest, you can always buy more. And the price right now, $10 for 250 credits. That's 4 cents per prompt, per task. Again, sometimes one single prompt may take you really far, depending on the model you choose and how clear you are with your instructions. But even if you have average results, right? It's 4 cents. 10 tasks, 40 cents. 100 tasks, $4, $4. And you will probably use under 50 a day, especially if you use some of the cheaper models or the ones that are in a promotion. Now, here's where this clicks. The goal, our goal, is to build websites that make us money or build projects that will get us hired as freelancers or get a stable job, right? That's the objective. Okay, now, if you wanted to hire a coder, a developer, trust me, you would not pay $2, $3, $4 per day. No, and I'm talking about an average coder. But here in Cursor, you have access to some of the best coders in the world for pennies. An average landing page should take you anywhere from, let's say, 30 to 100 prompts to be super generous, right? We did use 5 in our examples, but let's say it's 50 prompts. Trust me, that's nothing. When you sell that website for, say, $500 on the low end, does it really matter that you spent $2 making it? So this range anxiety that you're running out of credits is actually not logical. It's not rational. Most coders ask between $25 and $100 per hour on freelancing platforms. Cursor is cheaper, faster, better, and it's under your control. You won't use hundreds of credits per day, especially in your first few months. Keep in mind another thing. Initially, you won't know what you're doing. You may burn through credits, right? But that's normal. That's how you learn. As you get better and better, you'll use credits more wisely. But for now, please splurge, use them, don't worry about them. This is an investment into your future. You have to buy a course, you have to buy a few subscriptions, but the overall cost is nothing compared to the upside. I've built actual businesses in the food sector. I've built businesses in the tech industry. I've had teams of dozens of people. The costs are immense. Rent, utilities, salaries, expensive equipment, the works. On the flip side, with Cursor, you're paying pennies. There's no better deal than vibe coding at the moment. With a few bucks, with a few dollars, you can achieve so much. So to sum it up so far, if you're in the trial phase, sure, stick to Gemini 2.5, GPT 4.1, and Claude 3.5. Those are the models that are currently included in the trial. That may of course change. Test all 3 of them and see which one you prefer. See what personality you like. I, for example, really dislike 4.1 at times, but keep in mind things constantly change. My advice, probably Gemini is a better choice, but you do you. Now, if you want to use Claude 4, you have to sign up to the $20 plan, which I highly recommend. And after you do that, it's very likely that you'll only work with Claude 4 for most of your projects. Now, if you have the Pro plan, never use Auto mode nor Max mode. So to keep it simple, Max mode is not for beginners. It's a way in which the model is a lot smarter, but there's a price associated with it. Now, I'm not gonna go into technical details about context windows and tokens. Instead, I'm gonna tell you this. You should not touch Max mode for at least a few months. Even if you have a lot of issues and the model annoys you like crazy, please don't switch to Max mode. That's a step you should do only after you launch a few projects and you're far more comfortable with this vibe coding thing. When you're comfortable with GitHub, with Vercel, with Supabase, with this entire ecosystem. So with that in mind, you can completely take Max mode out of your mind. And although, again, is not a good idea, you want to choose one model and stick to it. Now, to wrap it up, don't protect your credits. Don't cherish them. They're an investment into your education and your future. Okay, let's continue. Back. Let's talk about something that's not very fun, but it's super important. Security. Specifically, what happens when we vibe code. You know, when we're in the zone, all excited to try out our new AI agents, we might install a ton of things left and right without any second thought, right? But here's the problem. Every time you run a script that you found on Discord, Reddit, or some other place, every time you give full access to an agent, to a model, to a company, you're handing over the keys to your computer. And let me explain what that means. Imagine that your computer is your apartment, right? And inside you've got private stuff, your bank login, your business plans, your creative files, crypto, money, credit cards, private photos, your passport ID, the works. Now picture this, you go out for lunch and you leave your apartment door wide open. Worse, you tape your key to the front door so anyone can use it, for anyone to take, right? Now, that's exactly what happens when we let someone or something control our computer without question. This happens a lot with vibe coding because sometimes the AI doesn't consider these issues. It sometimes saves our passwords, all of our passwords from our projects, in a text file called passwords. I'm not exaggerating. Well, I am a bit, but not by much. The bad guys know this stuff. These models don't have security in mind unless you tell them to. And when you let a program do whatever it wants with your computer, again, it's like saying, hey, feel free to look around to my house, take whatever you want. Now, here's the thing. We didn't want to install Python ourselves. We didn't want to fix the installation when it didn't work, right? We didn't want to read up on forums and send support tickets and ask people to help us, right? We didn't want to do that. We would much prefer the AI to just fix it, to do it on its own. But that's the way it has to be, even if it's frustrating. I know we all want a personal robot that does things automatically in a perfect way. A GPT clone, something. Maybe it types for you, maybe it installs programs. It sounds so cool, right? But here's the thing. Giving full control to AI is not like hiring a personal assistant. No. It's like giving a stranger your credit card, your house keys, your passport, and saying, hey, do whatever you think is best. Here's the thing, we're not there yet. And while this tech is impressive, the technology is fantastic, the security part is still very much fragile. So yes, I'm all for AI. I love using it to speed up my work. I'm fine giving over some control, but I'm not gonna give control to any type of MCP, to any type of agent or whatever, right? A bit more work for my hands? Sure, that's totally fine. Installing tools manually, checking permissions, reading a few instructions, it's not the end of the world. Sure, it takes more time, but it can also give you control. And when it comes down to launching a serious project, whether it's an app, a website, a startup, whatever, security should never be an afterthought. We'll talk more about that later on, but for now I wanted to tell you that we will do a bit of work ourselves, but I wanted to tell you all this stuff because I think it's quite important. Everything that we've installed is top-notch. It's official stuff, it's very well-known programs. But you're gonna find on the web other things that aren't official, so to speak. You're gonna find software made by who knows who in a different part of the world that claims that it can operate your computer automatically. Okay, who is that person? What those developers? Who is that company? You can't give your keys away just like that. So again, everything that we've installed so far and everything that we're about to do, again, it is vetted. It is something that's safe and you shouldn't have any issues whatsoever. But don't fall into that trap where you see something on TikTok and hey, look, it operates my computer automatically. Don't install that just yet. Use something that's very well known, use best practices. Okay, welcome back. Let me be clear, you won't create a billion-dollar company on your own with vibe coding, but you can launch products, websites, apps that can generate a good income. One of the main issues is getting that last 10 to 20% the way you want it. That might take you an incredible amount of time plus a lot of frustration. So let's do this. Attached, you have this folder. It's one of our previous websites, and there's this product card that looks decent, okay, pretty good, but maybe we want to make it look even better. That's the goal, right? Improve it. This is the type of thing that may go either very well or horribly wrong. So let's test our luck. Please go to the main menu to File and open this folder. You have an archive attached to the course that you first have to extract. Okay, we'll use Claude 4 for the moment, though you're gonna have a similar experience with most models. If you're in trial mode, you can use Claude 3.5 or Gemini. It won't really change the important part of this lecture. Okay, now here's the thing. You may want to open up this website so you can see how my existing card looks like. This is my website and I want to use it as a reference, okay? Now we could potentially write all the changes that we want, and that would save us some credits, but I want to take it step by step. This usually gives you better results. So one single task at a time. So let's say this. For the reviews in the product cards, add the product score with 2 digits. Make the score bold. And that's because if you simply see 5 stars across the board, there's no good way to separate them and make a decision, right? If one product has a score of 4.51 versus another one that's 4.88, of course, you're gonna choose the second one, right? It makes sense. So yeah, we're off to the races. Okay, it does take quite a bit of analysis, but that's typical when you import the project. It's gonna search through the entire code, and it's gonna try to understand what's up. This will take a few minutes. I have to say Claude 4 seems to be a bit slower than 3.7, but that's just a rough impression. And that really doesn't say much because again, there are loads of variables. After all, what matters is, if you finish the project and achieve your goals, it's like arriving somewhere. It doesn't matter if you took an Uber, your own car, a subway, or a bus. Those are all vastly different choices with different prices and experiences. But at the end of the day, it's really up to you. You're gonna get there in various ways. If you're willing to pay for more comfort, the bus is probably not a good idea. But if you're trying to be frugal, the bus may be the best choice. So context, your own context, really matters. Okay, fast forward and it should be done. And here's exactly what I mean. Does this look like what I have live on my website? Not really. Does it look horrible? No, of course not. But it's not what I want. The score doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you pair it with the star system. If it was a 92 from 127 reviews, the score would make sense. But the stars, those throw me off. And if you're the perfectionist, these types of things may drive you nuts. If you want stuff to be in a very specific way, this is going to take you a lot more prompts and a lot more effort. You could write the prompt in a much more detailed way. But let's continue with this. Let's write the following. Add a view details text that's styled in orange and bold, no background, and add an add to cart button that has an orange background and white text. These 2 buttons should be side by side underneath the rating. Okay, now again, could you describe it in a better way? That's a big discussion, sure. You have an idea in your mind. In this case, we do have a big advantage because we can see the live version. But yeah, you gotta do your best and describe what you want. This is gonna take a lot of patience and trial and error. You gotta practice to get better at it, no other way. You have to learn to describe things in such a way where the model understands your goals. The model doesn't take everything into account. For example, the existence of the star system. No, you asked for the 2-digit score. Well, you got it, right? It's like that funny saying, you tell the AI to eradicate all disease on Earth, so it just kills all the people. Now sure, technically, there are no more diseases, right? It technically did the job, but that's obviously not what we wanted. So you do have to be very careful about your prompts. Okay, let's go back to it. Let's see how it goes. Okay, after a while, it's done. Remember, always accept all the edits. Now we can refresh it. And yeah, again, it's pretty good. Is it exactly the way I wanted it? No, not really. This is the entire thing you need to realize. It doesn't matter what model you use. Sure, there's a question about the quality of my prompt. I could describe it in more detail, right? Maybe provide an image. Maybe show it a design made in Figma. Sure, but that's a bit more work. And I'm not against more work. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm saying that you should be prepared for this workflow. You got 80 to 90% of what you want. The rest, it's really tricky. So let me try one final prompt. Move the weight of the product to the right side of the price. Align the weight with the add to cart button. Make the add to cart button blue. Change the weight of view details from bold to normal. Okay, and let's see how this goes. By the way, while you could 100% create a shop with Cursor, I would still use WooCommerce based on WordPress, or maybe even Shopify for such a project, simply because they're super established. Just my 2 cents. The only exception would be a very simple shop that's based around very few products, or maybe some landing pages for a product. But yeah, coming back, this is again decent. It's just not perfect. It's not what I want. We could spend 10, 15, 20 more prompts, or we could try various approaches to get it closer to what I want, but I would much rather tell you this. Be happy with it. This won't make or break your project. Please don't be a perfectionist. Launch it as soon as possible. See how it goes. Find out what people are saying about it, and then, only then polish it. It's so easy to get fixated on details, but I promise you, you're just gonna lose out. And I'm talking from experience. Launch it and then polish it. And with that, let's continue. Welcome back. The dream of coding a design made in Figma in just a few seconds is not there yet. At least not in Cursor. We have a Figma MCP through which we can give Cursor access to my designs made in Figma. You do need to set up a token in your Figma settings. It's not very complicated, but you do have to be a bit patient. Don't work along, by the way. Just watch and see what's up. Now, here's the thing. It sounds awesome, right? The AI can analyze all of your decisions made in Figma and then implement them in a pixel-perfect way. After all, that's where we're struggling. The last 10 or 20%, those details. But even though this sounds amazing, it doesn't work. At the date of this recording, it's actually doing a bad job, no matter what model you use. I tried it with Claude, with Gemini, with GPT, and the results, they range from bad to not being able to finish the task. The flow is simple. You design a nice page in Figma, then you copy that specific page by using copy link to selection. That's basically the address of that particular page. Then you can start a new project in a new window, make a new folder as always, and then tell the model of your choice, implement this design, then add the link. It should be that easy, right? That simple. But for whatever reason, it doesn't work. When things change in Cursor, I'm going to let you know. But for now, I don't think that this is credits well spent. On the flip side, I do strongly recommend my web design courses. And that's not because you should learn Figma by itself, but because of the design principles inside that course. Those make the difference. Things like contrast, make sure people see what matters. Hierarchy, guide the eye, big titles, clear buttons, and so on. White space, more is better, let things breathe. Don't bunch things together. Symmetry and alignment, keep it neat, keep it clean. Typography, not just beautiful fonts, but appropriate sizes, weight, and spacing. Now, as you're about to find out, these coding platforms help us with all the complicated code, sure. But if you want a polished design, something that looks good, you gotta know these principles so you can guide the model. You have to know what you want to ask for. Things like increase the padding for the card, or make this text H2, or this one H3, or how some buttons need to be filled while other ones need to be pure text. These are the things I teach you in my design courses, and I promise you this is not an advertisement. It's not me trying to sell you another course. No, it's what you need to take your instructions to the next level and get better results. It's what you need to better describe your ideas. And funny enough, the model hallucinates and it says the website is done. The issue is there's no files in this project. You can see that on the left side. Nothing happened. That's quite funny. And here's the deal. You can tell the model that you need help to see the website. But yeah, the results are gonna be equally horrible. Let me actually just fast forward and show you something. The model did realize the folder is empty, so it tried to make the website, but what it actually did, well, you can be the judge of it. Now again, I'm sure this is gonna get better and better, and in a few months, it's very likely that this will be possible. Whether it's gonna be done in Cursor or directly in Figma, I'm not sure, but I'm confident it is gonna happen from Figma to working code. At the moment, you can clearly see how the model just makes something up that, doesn't make any sense, but it does that so it doesn't completely fail. Doesn't make any sense, but yeah. Anyway, this is useless. Don't use the Figma MCP for the moment. With that being said, let's continue. Welcome back. So far, we've learned that vibe coding basically killed web design in terms of the classic way of working. Wireframes, high-fidelity designs in Figma, preparing the file for the coding, and then finally a coder comes in and actually implements the project into a working website. Now, this entire flow would take from a few days to a few months, and that's no longer the case, and it actually pains me to say it because I've been active in that area for lots and lots of years. But here's the thing, as a designer, I have quite a lot of experience in moving ideas from my mind to a blank page. I typically know what I want, I know what looks good, and what clients usually want. I'm gonna be okay. I'm not 100% comfortable with this AI wave, but because I'm in it, I'm learning, I'm growing, I think there's actually more opportunity than before. I think I'm riding this wave, and even though I'm gonna lose a lot of projects, I think I'm gonna find great success with vibe coding. Now, what I'm actually worried about is how my friends who are into coding are gonna adapt. See, at least in my country, nobody is hiring developers anymore. The only jobs that are available are for super senior positions. And other positions where someone would typically get, say, $3,000 per month are now being offered just $2,000. It's a big shift because most companies can't adapt this fast. They see how multi-billion-dollar companies are focusing on AI, for example, Duolingo, okay? But most companies can't actually do that. Without a lot of funds, without a lot of senior developers on staff that closely overlook AI, things are bound to go wrong. And most companies can't afford that, can't afford to mess something up through AI. Their reputation is everything, right? So that means most companies are basically stuck. They can't really hire people the classic way, developers, because that seems like it's outdated. Investors, shareholders of all kinds, banks could look at them like they're buying fax machines. Now, obviously, that wouldn't make sense. But on the flip side, they can't really switch to AI either, because again, it's too sensitive. It's early and mistakes are bound to happen. So this means that the job market for developers is basically on pause, at least in my part of the world. And that's what I worry about. Again, designers, I think they can pivot. They are typically resourceful, agile. I hope developers are able to do the same thing. But yeah, overall, that's how I see things. Some opportunities are lost, but the new ones are far more interesting. So overall, I think we're gonna be just fine. And with that, let's continue. Back. Let me explain the process of creating a live website with your own domain name in a very short amount of time. We are gonna start with a totally blank project in Cursor, an empty folder, right? Create a working version of that website that runs locally on our own computer. Then when we're happy with it, we're gonna send it to GitHub. You can think of GitHub like Dropbox or Google Drive. It's a place on the web where you can store all your files. You can keep them there. You have access to them from any device, and if you want to share them, that's quite easy to do. Now, once the website is on GitHub, we are gonna send it to Vercel. Vercel is a platform that's gonna help us publish the website so everyone can see it. In short, Vercel replaces a hosting company. After you successfully import it from GitHub, it runs well, then you're gonna have a pretty ugly link. That's the final thing. So something like this. But this is still available to everyone. So you could potentially share it with your friends, family, you can show it to the client. It does the job, right? But if you want to take it to the next step, you can buy a domain name directly in Vercel, cressbaron.com or something, wait a few hours, and then you're gonna have your own address, like I said, cressbaron.com or whatever else. Once this is all set up and working well, here's the thing. You can come back to Cursor and continue to make improvements. The great thing about it is that you can tell Cursor to update GitHub and it's gonna do it automatically. And here's the funny thing, then Vercel is gonna automatically update as well. So that's quite easy to do. The hard part was setting up everything at the beginning of the course. Now it's just a matter of going through the motions, debugging, fixing stuff, various things, right? Now these issues, they may take us 5 or 6 prompts or 15 minutes, or we may be unlucky and we might need 15, 20 prompts, maybe a few hours, maybe quite a bit of headaches. But yeah, that's part of the game. So to recap, we are gonna start with a good prompt, something with a decent amount of detail, then we'll start building in Cursor. When we're done, we're gonna publish to GitHub and then to Vercel, so it's gonna be live and shareable with everyone. Now you may ask, Chris, why did we sign up to Supabase? Well, Supabase is great for giving users an option to register an account. It's gonna handle the complicated database stuff, and with how we set things up, it's gonna work automatically. For now, we're not gonna use Supabase. For now, we're gonna make a solid website from start to finish, we'll publish it, and then maybe later on we'll do something a bit more complicated. And of course, we are gonna use resend to send emails. I'm really excited. Let's get to it. Let's get to work. Welcome back. Here's the prompt that we're both gonna use. You have it attached, and in terms of detail, it's a 6 out of 10. If you take this natural sounding prompt and you try to improve it in ChatGPT, you're gonna get a prompt that's far more technical. Typically, that helps. But a complicated prompt might be a bit overwhelming, so I decided to stick to something that sounds natural. We walk, then we run. One of the main issues is this. I say blue and white, but usually I would provide color codes. You gotta be specific. Blue can mean anything from a super light baby blue to a dark, intense navy blue. So keep that in mind. The more detail you include, the better the result. I want to remind you that even if you do everything exactly like me, your website is going to look different than mine. That's just how these models work. But I can promise you that you will have different issues from the one that I'm going to have. I don't have a crystal ball, but I've been at this for long enough to know that that's inevitable. Issues are going to come up and they're going to be of all sorts. Okay, set up a new folder and a new project in Cursor, the basics. Please make sure you have everything set up, like we did in the first part of the course. GitHub, Python, Node.js, the works. Speaking about tech, I decided to tell the model a few things, that it should use Next.js and Tailwind, Resend for the form, and then GitHub and Vercel. And here's why I did that. At the beginning, you start off with a very basic, vague prompt, the likes of, make me a website, right? And then you see what the smarter models recommend, what they use. We already saw how some of them chose basic HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, while others recommended something a bit more robust, a bit more technical. Exactly what I wrote here, Next.js and so on. If the model that you prefer wants to use this tech stack, if you see a pattern, then make a note of it and the next time around, suggest it. That's exactly what I did here. And I also did the following. I spoke to a few coders and I just asked, okay, why Tailwind? Why not this one or that one? Why React? Why not this or that? And in short, everyone seems to have their own preference. Some people like BMW, Pepsi, and Android. Other people like Mercedes, Dr. Pepper, and iOS. Who's right? Obviously nobody. It's what you prefer. And it's somewhat the same thing here. Now, the next thing about the prompt, I asked for something called the PRD, a Product Requirements Document. This is so the model can clearly tell us what's about to happen. The PRD sounds fancy, but it's sort of a checklist, so you know where we're at. So that's the PRD. It doesn't hurt, so always include it. Next, I want to add some images. While we could use an MCP to download some automatically, I think that's overkill, that's too much. Instead, I did this, unsplash.com. I selected a few photos that would work for a vet, then I switched to people for the reviews. Very basic, very standard. So after you set up your project on your drive, you should copy the address of those photos and paste it in the main prompt. We have two places, here and here. Good stuff. Now just to be clear, you download photos from Unsplash, you put them inside the folder anywhere, and then we're gonna have to move this folder from my desktop to the place where cursor is set up, to where this specific project is set up. Now in my case, I opened up this folder, and that's where we have to paste the images. Now to get an address from any location, you have to use this area. This is quite easy to get. For the reviews, it's the exact same thing. You get the path and then you copy it inside the prompt. Okay, the rest of the prompt is actually quite basic. The only major thing that I'm asking for is a form to make appointments. But the form doesn't have any advanced functionality. I didn't include a drop-down for the services that the client might want. I didn't include the hour. The hour would require us to know the doctor's appointments, his entire schedule. So I chose the simplest version. Plus, I added a phone number so they can pick up calls that way as well. The idea is this: you could potentially sell this website. As long as they have someone answering their phones and email, a basic contact form will do the job. The website will be functional. The cabinet can call back the client and ask him for a lot more information and set up an appointment that way. So I want to be clear, this website can work even in its basic, simplest version, though to be fair, you can always add more features and functionality. And you can use this foundation and adapt it to any other type of niche, to restaurants, lawyers, anything that you can think of. So yeah, that's the prompt. It's time to get to work. For this project, I'm gonna use Claude 4 because I quite like its personality. No matter what you choose on your end, you are gonna get a lot of issues that might not show up on my end, so please be patient, try to debug and ask for help. You're gonna see that your patience is one of the main keys to your success. Now let's get started. It's off to the races. The model says it's gonna make a professional vet clinic landing page, okay, and it's now checking the assets. Assets simply means resources, or more specifically in our case, images. Next, it's gonna make the PRD, the document where we're gonna see all the essentials about the project. And yep, here we go. It ranges from overview to objectives to tech stack. And here we see Next.js, Tailwind, Resend, Vercel, GitHub, the works. And it's not like we know these things, right? But this is confirmation that we are on the right track and the model understood us. And if we do have to use Google to fix any issues, these details might help. Now I'm gonna speed up the recording quite a lot from time to time because Claude 4 is quite thorough and intelligent, but here's the thing, at times it's really slow. One funny thing is that in the PRD, I noticed something that's a bit of a red flag. It put in the wrong year. It said that this was created back in 2024, which obviously doesn't make any sense. Anyway, the model is hard at work. If you look in the left panel, you're gonna see that this area is starting to grow, to expand, more and more files. One funny thing, you may see various errors, various issues, but the model seems to know about them. Now, you would expect that artificial intelligence would write perfect code, but no, even the AI gets it wrong, at least at this stage. I'm sure that as time goes on, this is going to get better and better. If you're old enough to have used Windows 95 or 98, and you now compare it to the latest Windows release, or more than that, a recent macOS version, it's night and day, right? It's gonna be the exact same thing here, from Winamp to Spotify. But here's the thing, as long as the model knows about these issues and it fixes them itself, then we don't really care about it, right? It's not a problem for us. We're just sipping on a cup of coffee and waiting for it to finish. So overall, it's all good even with these errors. Now, some files take a bit longer than expected, but I think that's because they're quite big. With this model and tech stack, that's to be expected actually. And it's a good idea to have a look through them and see what's inside them. You can do that with a single click in the left panel. Click on any file and it's gonna open up here. The central part works with tabs, exactly like your browser, so it's nice and easy to move around. One of the biggest issues you're gonna get in bigger, more serious projects is with the file size. In short, in simple terms, the bigger the files, the harder it is to maintain and update it. Now, better said, you're much better off editing 3 files that are 300 lines of code versus one single file that's 900 lines of code. For whatever reason, this really trips up the model. In our cursor rules, we do mention something about that, to having short files, but the model doesn't always take it into account. And on the flip side, in some cases, it's really not possible to concentrate everything within 300 lines. So that's something that you may struggle with later on in your career as a vibe coder. Now, my advice, start with smaller, simpler projects and again have patience. And that's because we're getting serious updates every other week or so. It's just a matter of time until these become smarter and smarter, and this experience is gonna be magical. It's not gonna be with so much headaches. One thing to be aware of, when the model is gonna finish its job, because we've used that tech stack, that technology, we are gonna have a local server. This means we won't have a single index file through which we can test the website. So there's no index file that we're gonna use. No, instead, we're gonna get an address that's gonna start with localhost. Now, I'm not gonna get technical, it really doesn't matter all that much. What you need to know is that the initial version of the website is only gonna work on your computer. You're not gonna be able to share it with anyone else. Now, if you stick with me until the end, of course, we're gonna use Vercel, and through that, we're gonna publish the website on the web so everyone can see it. So stick with me until the end. Now, here are a few issues. The model is trying to start the local server, but it seems it's not working. It's not asking us for anything, so we're fine. 9 times out of 10, Claude will figure it out. It will try again, or it will try a different approach, and I love that. Now, I've used this tech combination in the past, and I know that resend is gonna need a key. Just to remind you, when someone fills out a contact form and sends it, an email has to be sent to the clinic, right? For that to happen, we need a service, a provider that can help us send that email. And in our case, we chose resend. Resend is gonna help us. We've made an account there, but we need to connect to resend to this specific project, and that's done through a single key. Now, the model is gonna ask us for that key. We're gonna handle that, but at a later point. I just wanted to explain the process. I love the fact that this model is chatty, that it tells me how the build is mostly successful, and that it has some warnings it has to look at. This is fantastic, and that's because this is a thinking model, so it's a bit more expressive. Now, I can only imagine how hard it is to be a developer, having to know everything by heart, having to remember everything, having to use Google quite a lot. I think it's incredibly difficult. So I'm very happy we have Cursor on our side. We gave it one single prompt so far, one single enter key, one single request, one single credit, And so far, it's made lots of progress. Just check on the left side to see how many files it made. It's thousands of lines of code. I'm more than happy to pay 4 cents for such a crazy amount of work. It's fantastic. But of course, after about 25 actions, the model is instructed to stop. Now, some say it's because Cursor wants you to consume more credits, so it's a financially motivated decision. I don't think that's the case. Other people say it's a good idea for the model to stop from time to time, so you can actually review the work and put it back on the right track if it messed up. So no matter what, in our case as vibe coders, without any technical knowledge, we are gonna hit the resume conversation button because we want it to continue. But let's do that after the quick break. I'm gonna see you in a second. Welcome back. We've made quite a lot of progress, but it's normal for the model to stop after 25 steps or so. We have to resume the conversation, which basically means we're confirming we're on the right track and the model can continue. But here's the thing. Immediately after we click, here's one of the biggest issues with Cursor at the moment. It says connection failed. Please check your internet connection or VPN. This is really frustrating. There's no issue with my internet and I don't use a VPN. This is a very well-known problem. Cursor is working at it, but at the moment it still happens from time to time. The forums are filled with lots of people complaining about it. Now, this is not confirmed, but I do think this might affect our project. When the model stops mid-sentence, when the AI is forced to stop when it had planned 5, 10, 15 other steps, it's not ideal. Sadly, the try again button will not work no matter how much you click on it. You may try, but it's not gonna work. Now here's the thing. I do prefer to try to click on accept all, which is hidden behind it. That's so we can save all of the progress so far. You gotta pause for the moment, wait a few seconds, and then finally, if you click fast enough, you can accept all the changes. That's what I recommend you do as well, though I know that may be quite tricky. This is what I meant by saying that we're early. These are the issues that come up that may annoy you. Fact is, you gotta be calm and try to continue. In this case, to fix it, there are 2 choices. Make a new conversation or restart the program. I'm gonna go for the second option. So close the program, wait a few seconds, then restart it. Then, of course, wait a few more seconds until it loads up, and you're gonna see the previous conversation and the issue. The only thing that we can do right now is type in continue, and this will work. The model is gonna analyze the project, the progress made so far, and it's gonna try to continue. Now, is this horrible? No, of course not, but it's not ideal either, because the model does continue. It still has lots of things it still needs to do. But yeah, I really hope that on your end, you can try to avoid this issue. I hope you get lucky, at least for your first big project. But you have to know that as you work more and more in Cursor, this is gonna be inevitable. I'm gonna speed things up until we get to a save point, so to speak. Now, one thing that I love is having a file called project status, where the model tells us what's up. That's very useful, and it's a good idea to glance at it from time to time and see what the model did, what it achieved. Now, I'm not suggesting that you read actual code, but it's a great idea to get used to how these models operate, how they work. Through vibe coding alone, it's unlikely that you're gonna become an actual coder, but that's actually not the objective. We can, however, build cool stuff and launch products, launch websites. That's the goal. Okay, let's skip ahead. Okay, here's the summary, and it's massive. There's lots to go through. The model tells us a lot about the progress that is made, but I'm just gonna find the address of the website. Localhost 3000. Copy it and then paste that into your browser. So let's have a look at the website. That only took us a few minutes and a couple of prompts. Sure, some issues, but yeah, I think that's fine. And yes, I'm quite happy with it. The first impression is awesome. To be fair, the prompt was in English, but for whatever reason, the model made the website in my own local language. Funny enough. Now, I guess that's because of the address that I put in. Funny how that works. Now, we can translate it later on, but yeah, that's something to note. The website does look professional and quite modern. I'm not sure why the photos don't show up though. That's something that we gotta fix as well. Now, here's the thing. The goal is to learn from every mistake. Unless you go through several projects, you can't really gain that valuable experience. So I welcome all issues, all bugs. For example, all the images from Unsplash are huge, both in size and in weight. Now, ideally, we would have optimized them. We could use TinyPNG, we could use iloveimg.com, but because we skipped that, maybe that caused this issue. Maybe that's why it's not working. My advice for the future is you take precautions. For example, here with the language, I just assumed it would use English because the prompt was in English. But as you can clearly see, that's not correct. That's not the case. So that's the approach you need to take. You learn through these small mistakes and you adjust your approach. Ideally, sure, the model would be smart enough, but it can't read our minds. So the next time around, you have to mention that you want the website to be in English and you should optimize the images beforehand. And though for the mobile version, you can actually resize your browser or you can use a hotkey. This is for the Firefox. You can even choose different phone sizes, but the important thing is you look for major issues, spacing issues, alignment problems, things of that nature. But yeah, Claude 4 typically does a good job. And yeah, overall, I'm happy. It's not a fantastic design, but it's very solid, and I think most businesses would get more clients through it. Okay, let's take a quick break. Welcome back. The website looks pretty good, but I'm sure we can translate it, improve it in various ways, but the essential part is the functionality. We have one big feature here, and that's the contact form. Right now, it's not connected to anything, so it won't work. Now, here's the thing. If we fill it out and we try to send a message, it's gonna say that it works, that the request has been sent. But that's not possible because it's not connected to anything. So this is another point where you have to be skeptical. In case you're not sure about it, you can simply ask the model, hey, where are the emails being sent? And it should tell you that it's actually not working. Now in the past, I've seen Claude 3.7 show an error here, an issue, a problem. And that's a much better approach because as vibe coders, we may be fooled by the model. That's why I prefer to point out these situations. If you don't know, you may be fooled. But yeah, going back to it, we have a resend account and I have to make a key for the form to work. What I love about resend is that after you log in, the very first button that you see is add an API key. And that's exactly what we want. And here's the thing, you click on it once and you're gonna see these dots and that's it. As I said before, API keys have to be protected, exactly like your credit card number. And let me explain why. Say this is my actual account and I sign up for the paid plan. To do that, I'm gonna have to add my credit card, of course. But it's the same thing with Cursor. You do need a paid plan after a while to get the most out of it. Okay, now let's say I show my keys to tens of thousands of students. They copy paste it in their own projects and they start using it, right? And after a while, I get hundreds of dollars in charges, maybe thousands. Why? Because all of their projects used my key, so my account, so my credit card. They start sending emails, and of course, Resend is gonna charge me for it. And that's how these keys work. That's why most platforms will only show you your key once, and you do have to paste it in a separate file. You won't be able to see it again on the platform, on Resend. Sure, you can always make a new key and it won't cost you anything, but it's not ideal to have loads and loads of keys and not know which is which. That's why I'm gonna blur out my private keys. Okay, back to the project. You can create a file that's gonna store all of your sensitive information, but my first approach, my go-to approach, is to ask the model to help me out. So let's write this. I have an API key from Resend. Please add it to the project. And I'm gonna paste it in a minute. And then I'm also gonna give it two specific emails, which you have to do as well. We have from email, which is a standard address that has to be the following one, delivered at resend.dev. This is for testing purposes. If you want to send actual email addresses, you're going to need a verified domain name, something like chrisbarron.com or whatever. Now, why is that? Well, I'm sure you've seen emails like these. So spam emails that they say they're from Netflix or Amazon or your bank. But these are, of course, fake. They want to steal your information. And if you check the address, you're going to see it's not the official business email from that particular company. So that's what Resend is trying to prevent. You can't add a fake email address here. Of course, we don't have a real one because this is just a test project, right? So that's why you have to use this specific address for testing purposes, delivered at resend.dev. Now, the second email, this is where the email is going to arrive. So after you fill in the form, who's going to get that message? Now, this has to be the email address that you used to sign up to Resend. So you can't use any other email. It has to be that specific one that you used on Resend when you signed up. Again, this is all for testing purposes. If you're not sure, you can go back to Resend and check your account and see what email you used. If you don't follow these instructions, the form is not going to work, and then you're going to be mad at Cursor for not doing its job. But the model, it may review the entire code, it may try to fix things, but obviously it won't work unless you follow Resend's instructions. But here's the thing, once you figure out how to use this platform, you're golden. You're going to be set for all of your projects. So that's why this is not a big deal. Okay, let's see what the model does. The file that stores all of your keys and passwords is called env.local. For whatever reason, this is blocked, so the model has to make another file called example. That's quite interesting. We'll see if the model figures it out. I love the fact that Claude is resilient and it doesn't immediately give up. It tries different solutions, different commands. It doesn't always work, but it's nice to see that it's trying. It's putting in the effort. When you're vibe coding, you may be tempted to look at your phone or drift away, but I encourage you to stay focused even though it may be boring at times. After a while, the model actually says it's gonna tackle the image issue. And funny enough, I did not mention it. This is a green flag, this is a positive. The question is, will it actually fix the problem? We are gonna see. Okay, let's skip ahead and let's see the summary. Funny enough, sometimes in the summary, it may show you your API key. I'm gonna blur that out, of course. But yeah, here we have a few details, and step 2 and 3 are exactly what I'm planning. Visit the website and test the form, okay. But step 1, it says I have to start the server myself. And if we try to refresh the website, we're gonna see it's not gonna work. Okay, so we can't really skip that step. Now, the thing is, it could have done it on its own. But let's handle that ourselves. There's a small run button to the side. Click on it and you're gonna see at the bottom, in the terminal, how the server is starting again. A bit frustrating, but it's not a big deal. After a few seconds, we can go back to the browser and refresh. The first thing I wanna check is the images. I would be supremely impressed if it fixed that without me telling it to do so. But no, it actually didn't fix them. Okay, let's focus on the form. That's the essential bit. I'm sure we'll get a success message as before. We'll make sure that the emails are being sent by checking out the Resend dashboard and then my own personal email. But yeah, here it's not working. Now here's the thing. Claude does say we need to make the .env file ourselves. So it didn't manage to do it on its own. Again, not ideal. It does give us the exact code. So let's copy it by using this super tiny icon here. Remember, enlarge your interface if you can't see it well. Ctrl+. Okay, I'm not too happy, but let's do it. So right click in the left panel. From this list, choose New File. Then call it exactly like Cursor says, .env.local. Okay, then inside it, let's paste what we previously copied. It's gonna be the key and the 2 email addresses. To be honest, I don't know if the server needs to be restarted, but I'm gonna refresh the website and use the form once again. Then we'll take it from there. In the meantime, I'm gonna tell Cursor that the images are not loading and that I created the .env file. I'm thinking it should know that we made the file manually. But here's the thing, actually, the email came through. So victory, good stuff, fantastic. No need to tell Cursor about it, it just works. Very interesting. You can check that in the recent dashboard as well. You're gonna see there's been an email that's been sent a few seconds ago. So awesome stuff. We made our form work. Congratulations. Feel free to test it out again, but yeah, I'm quite happy we managed and without too much headache. Let's take a quick break. Welcome back. The website is looking quite good and we've made great progress, but here's the thing. The images don't load. The approach is quite simple. Tell the model exactly that. There's no need to provide any additional context. Claude should review the code and find out what's the problem. Now it's thinking for nearly half a minute, wow. Okay, until it figures it out. But after that, it does say it's identified the issue. Now, while it works in the background, you are gonna notice it will sometimes lie. Yep, I said it. It may say that it figured it out, but actually that may not be the case. There are many funny images on Reddit about this situation, so lots of people have experienced the same thing. Or in the same way, it says, oh, you're right, my apologies, when you point something out that it clearly hasn't done. Now, the first time you see these messages, you may have a positive reaction, but after you see them for the 20th time, it becomes a bit annoying. Here we can see it's doing a whole bunch of stuff, and after a while, it even checks the .env file that we created before. We made it according to its instructions. Interesting that it's checking it out. It has no connection to the images, but okay. By the way, notice the left panel. Tons of files made in just a few minutes with just a few prompts. That's fantastic stuff. Though to be fair, nobody actually cares about this stuff. All that matters is the end result, and if the project actually fulfills its goals, to get more leads, to generate revenue, to grow the actual business. We're not trying to generate thousands of lines of code. We're here to fix problems, to help businesses grow through a well-optimized website delivered in just a couple of days. Okay, interesting. It's gonna check the email functionality, which I did not ask for. Now, is this a good thing or a bad thing? On one end, I'm happy it's looking out for us and it's checking that the project is well built. Okay, good. But on the flip side, we did tell it to fix the images, not to look at the resend key or check the form, right? So that may be a bad sign. It may show that the model doesn't focus on the task at hand. That's why I'm constantly telling you to test it out. Create a few projects with different models from start to finish and see which personality you like best. One thing, I could switch to a different model right now or at any point, but from my experience, I don't recommend it. Unless you're really stuck and the model is running around in circles, I don't think it's a good idea to switch. Now here's the thing, when I did switch during something that was quite important, the new model was actually upset at the old model. It did not agree with the structure of the project, with how the code was written. It was quite funny to see. It's like it was really disappointed that someone didn't do a good enough job. So that was fantastic. And rather than continuing where the old model left off, it actually started rewriting different parts of the code, even though I didn't ask for that. So that's why I keep saying that it may be a good thing what's happening here, or it may be a bad thing. But let's skip to the summary. In most cases, it will say it's fixed, but you should always be skeptical and triple check. So let's have a look and see. And yep, that's exactly what I mean. Issues left and right. Not a problem though. This is something that you need to get used to. All that we have to do is copy this entire thing and paste it back into Cursor. By the way, sometimes you're gonna see a few files referenced above the chat. You can leave them or close them. It really depends on the situation. Here, I don't think that needed, so I'm gonna close them. Now, another thing. We could potentially connect our browser to Cursor, but I would just rather copy paste some issues. Most people say that they have a better experience by using the Brave browser in combination with Cursor, but I prefer to stick to Firefox and just copy paste any issues. Okay, just as a side note, it seems the issue had something to do with caching. Okay, that's okay by us, that's fine. We'll wait until the model fixes it. It may take a while, but I'm gonna speed things up. Okay, now let's have a look at the summary. Again, the model says it's fixed. Okay, let's test it out. Now, one of the biggest issues with vibe coding is trusting the model, trusting artificial intelligence. See, if it lies about small stuff, what happens when you have an actual project or an actual client and thousands of dollars are at stake? That's the biggest problem. Issues, bugs are fine, we can fix them, it's all good. But see, again, it's not working here. The instructions don't tell us we have to do anything else. Just visit the website and the images should load perfectly. But that does not happen. I'm pointing that out because sometimes we may skip something, we may have to do something manually. And if we don't read the summary correctly, obviously we may miss it and it's going to be our fault. Like it was the case with the .env file, we had to make it. But here, no, it should work, but it doesn't. So let's tell the model that only a few photos load and that it should review the entire code and fix the issue. Okay, this is gonna take a while. Because I wanted to review the entire thing, the entire code base comprehensively, this means we're looking at a few solid minutes of waiting. Luckily enough, this is a recording so I can speed things up. But yeah, in your case, you're gonna have to wait quite a bit. I'm just gonna skip to the summary, but here's the question. Do we actually care what was the actual issue? Now on one end, yes, because maybe we can prevent it from happening again in our next project. So that's one thing where you should pay attention to every single thing that's happening in the chat. On the flip side, no, not really, because the summary should tell us what it fixed, what was the issue and how it fixed it. That means it's really up to you if you want to review every single step, read it, try to understand it, and see if you can adjust your approach in the future, if you can do something differently. Okay, so the summary. Actually, it doesn't say what it did. Just stuff like proper image sizing, which doesn't tell me much. It does say it disabled something about image optimization for debugging purposes. So this part tells me that the issue is possibly related to the image size. Okay, in any case, let's have a look and see if they all show up. And yes, victory, all good, finally. One thing that's a side note, I have to say that the main image doesn't make me happy. The position doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But overall, it's fine, and I'm okay with the fact that the images are loading. We fixed that, the form works, now it's time to continue. Let's take a quick break. Welcome back. The website is up and running, but it's only on our local computer. We want to be able to share it with the world, so we're gonna have to upload it to GitHub. So let's tell the model to do exactly that. I also like to mention the fact that it should use the GitHub MCP, which should prevent the model from asking us to do stuff manually. Ideally, I'd like to not even touch GitHub. The model should do everything. Please be aware of one thing. You do need to add your personal token inside the GitHub MCP inside Cursor. Without that key, this won't work. Okay. It's gonna look at my account, see what's up, and create a new project. This is called the repository. That's the correct term, but you can remember it like that. Project, repository, same thing. We can see it's using the MCP tool, which is a good sign. One potential issue that I see is the sheer amount of code that we've created. There are lots and lots of files, but we'll see how this goes. It seems there's a problem. It says the GitHub MCP doesn't actually work. Okay, let's check it out. Click on the settings icon in the top right side, and that's gonna open up Cursor settings. And yes, for whatever reason, nothing actually works. All of them are red, which means there's an issue. To be fair, there's quite a lot of them activated. We are past the limit, but even so, they shouldn't all be red. That's a bit odd. Now here's the thing, the model is actually still working in the background, well, on the right side, but it won't be able to do anything. Maybe that's why we had some issues with the photos as well. One thing we can do is to try to edit one of them and then come back to the MCP tools. That should initiate a refresh of sorts, and in the past that did solve some of my problems. But no, here it's still not working. I say it's best we stop the model. It's one of those few cases where that makes sense, because if you leave it working, it may do more harm than good. The only thing I can think of is a classic restart. The good old, have you tried unplugging it and then plugging it back in? Okay, let's have a look. So wait a few seconds. And now, yeah, one by one green light, which is equally funny and annoying. What can I say about it? What can we learn from this issue? I have no idea what caused it, and I have no idea how to fix it. Restarting doesn't make any sense. Even if I were a senior developer with 20 years of experience, I don't think this would make sense. The only potential thing is this. Maybe try to disable a few MCPs that you don't typically use. GitHub obviously has to remain active. Okay, once we have a green light, let's go back in the chat and give it the same message, but I'm also gonna tell it that I plan on using Vercel. That may help the model prepare everything, so we may have fewer issues down the road with Vercel. Okay, this is gonna take a while. I'm not sure if it's due to the fact that we have lots of files or how big they are, or on the flip side, it may be due to the fact that at this time of the day, lots of people are using Claude/Cursor. Fact is, it slowed down quite a lot. And in the meantime, let me tell you a few things about GitHub. Now, the cool thing is, you don't have to do anything on github.com. But then how does it help? Well, GitHub becomes more than just a middleman between Cursor and Vercel. When your project is up on GitHub, you've created a version-controlled backup that's public or private, depending on what you choose. Now, what's version control? So let's say that this is going to be version 1 with a very basic form, very simple, right? Then you may create a much more advanced form where maybe the visitor can choose an hour, services and other stuff, right? You bring it to the client, you make it live, but after a while you get a phone call. Hey Chris, I'm having fewer appointments. People are not liking the new form. Can you please bring back the old one? That would be painful. You would have to go back to Cursor and strip away all that extra code that may give you bugs. The form may break, the entire website may break. But this is where version control comes into play. With GitHub, it's like a save game, load game situation. You simply go back to the previous version, or any version to be honest. As long as it's on GitHub, you can have multiple ones. You can have separate versions based on color schemes, functionality, layouts, you name it. So GitHub helps you organize all of that, version control. Now, is it super simple? No, not really. It takes a while to get used to it. But because we have Cursor, we simply tell the model what we want and it will do it. We'll just say, hey, bring back the red color scheme version, or bring back the contact form that had only 3 fields. That's version control. That's the power of GitHub. Then public or private. Public means other people can see your work. And that's super useful in case you want to get a job or you want to collaborate with other people. If you want to show off your work, what you're able to do, sure, make it public. Most likely, you're going to keep it private in case you want to sell this website to a client. So that's version control, public or private. But the most important thing, this is the perfect bridge between your local code in Cursor and deploying it online, publishing it. See, platforms like Vercel are deeply integrated with GitHub. So when your site is ready to go live, Vercel can look at your GitHub project and say, okay, I see your files, I see your settings, I see your latest changes, I got this. And it's going to publish it. That means you don't have to do anything manually. You don't have to upload files or make any settings. You don't need a hosting company, nothing. You just connect Vercel to your GitHub repo, which we're going to do in a minute, and then boom, that's it. Your website is live. And this is supremely powerful because it keeps everything automated and clean. If you make changes to your project later on in Cursor, you're gonna ask the model to update GitHub, and then that's it. Automatically, Vercel gets a signal to update the live version of the website. No extra steps, it's all automatic, it's all wired together. Fantastic. So in simple terms, Cursor is where you build the website, GitHub is where you store it, and then Vercel is where you make it live for the world to see it. Okay, going back to the project, it seems the model stopped. For whatever reason, it looked at the rules we set up, and then it stopped. This is quite strange. The best way to go about it is ask it. Did you upload the website to GitHub? Can I push it to Vercel? Then see what it says. Talk to it like you would talk to a developer. Ask it questions when you're not sure. And it seems like it's restarting from scratch. I'm not sure why that's the case. So let's see. After a while, we do get a summary that makes zero sense. I'm quite sure it's hallucinating, that it's imagining stuff. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna make a new chat. Let's pause though, and we're gonna continue in a second. Welcome back. Inside the new chat, let's tell the model that the website was partially uploaded and that it should use the GitHub MCP to finish the job so we can continue to Vercel. Okay, we saw how the model struggled to upload the website to GitHub. Now in the past, this was always a 2-minute job for me, but here the model is really having a hard time. Sure, initially the GitHub MCP did not work, of course, but we fixed that through a restart. Now there's no reason for it to work so slowly. When you see any type of degradation, when you see that the model isn't replying correctly, it's time to start a new chat. You can do that from the top right side. Cursor will also tell you when that's the case by showing you a message in the bottom right side. Though to be fair, this shows up quite early and quite often. Now, in short, if the conversation is way too long, the AI won't work as well. It's gonna be overwhelmed. That's why it's best you break up your project into several chats. For example, translating the website should be done in a new chat. If we wanna improve the form, add a few things to it, yet again, a new chat. If you wanna change the color scheme, again, new chat. And that's gonna give you the best possible results. On the flip side, when we struggled with images not loading, it's best to stick with that conversation until you get to a conclusion. Either it's fixed or the model makes absolutely no sense and it's clear you can't continue with it. Here I have to tell you that this, well, it was a nightmare. This took ages, something like 45 minutes in total. Every single file took a very long time. And more than that, incredibly annoying, the model said at one point that it didn't see any project on GitHub and it decided to make a brand new one. This is of course very frustrating because we just said it was partially uploaded. I would have appreciated the model stopping and asking me about it. Instead, it carried on. Now, to be fair, I'm happy with still making progress, but now I'm gonna have to clean up the previous project on GitHub. I'm gonna have to remove it. It's just a few clicks, it's not hard to remove it, but I don't like the fact that it couldn't see what we just did a few moments ago and the fact that I clearly said in the prompt that we partially uploaded it. To be fair, we did start a new conversation, but even so, I was expecting a bit more from it. After quite a lot of waiting, the website is finally uploaded onto GitHub. We can see all the files when it was uploaded as well as a description. What I love about these models is that they write a lot of details. Everything is clearly explained. This is gonna help everyone. It's gonna help yourself, any potential employer, any coder you may work with, but also any other AI model you might use in the future. Because that's the thing. Maybe you continue with this project with another model. But maybe you launch a version, it's working well, but then you wanna hire a coder to fix some issues that you can't manage yourself. With everything laid out so well, things are gonna go smoother and faster. And with that, we can take a break and we'll soon go to Vercel, which means we're gonna be able to share the website with anyone. I'll see you in a second. Our website is up on GitHub, and that's great because Vercel is integrated with it. And here's how this goes. I already have one project here, but you'll skip to the next screen. You'll see this one here. So that's what you're gonna see when you first start Vercel and give it access to your GitHub account. Here we can see the Vet Clinic project is the first one in the list. We need to click on import, and then that's gonna start the process. To make sure things work well, we need to do a bit of setup, but it's just a bit. And that's done by clicking here, environment variables, which sounds super fancy, but actually we just need to paste the resend key and those two email addresses. That's it, nothing more. Now, after you do it once, you're gonna see how easy this is. Okay, back into Cursor, you have to open up the env file that we previously made. From here, copy the left side, the resend API key. Then go back to Vercel and paste it in the left field. Okay, now repeat for the right side. It's exactly that easy, nothing all that special. Of course, you're gonna have to use the add more button because we have 3 things in total. So the key, to email, and then finally from email. I'm gonna speed through it, but yeah, I'm happy that this is so simple. Now, there's a podcast where the founder of Vercel is saying that their whole approach is to be able to launch a website in no time at all. That speed for them is crucial, essential. And you know what? After using this service for a while, I have to agree. I've made multiple accounts and it's always a breeze. Oh, please make sure you copy paste with precision. Don't leave out any characters and don't include any extra spaces. That may cause huge issues because it's likely you won't get an error about it. By the way, developers don't say let's publish a website. They say deploy the website. And this is gonna take a while, usually a minute or 2. Though in most cases, the first time around, the deployment is probably gonna fail. It's not hard to fix, but we do have to wait until the process is done. You should already notice the copy icon from the top right side. That's what we're gonna use to grab the issues, the errors, and then paste them back into Cursor, because I'm sure this is gonna be quite inevitable for most projects. We have a few problems here. Let's transfer them so Cursor can fix them. I'm gonna provide a bit of context. I'm gonna tell the model that I'm using Vercel and that I'm getting these errors. Then I'm gonna paste the whole thing. Okay, yeah, so it seems like there's an issue with Next.js, which is totally fine by us. We don't really care. As long as the model is able to identify and fix the problem on its own, I'm happy. Now, this may take some time because the AI has to review several files, but then it also has to publish them to GitHub. Remember that. Vercel takes all of our files automatically from GitHub. If we're lucky enough, this shouldn't take too long. But we'll see if that's the case. And sadly, in this case, in this evening, things are quite slow. Actually, this took about 40 minutes, 40, even though this isn't anything all that complicated. I can only imagine how annoying this must be if this is your first experience with a more serious project. But I'm quite confident that things are gonna get better and better. The guys at Cursor are constantly improving things, and they've actually just announced a one-click install for the MCPs, so you no longer have to deal with those bits of code. So far, we don't have a lot of tools, but it's still progress. Another thing that's worth noting, Vercel will constantly try to publish, to deploy the website. So in case you check it out and you see a lot of red, no worries, it's not a big deal. You may also get a ton of emails about the failures. We could potentially pause Vercel until the model finishes its job with GitHub, but I'm gonna keep it running, even though we're gonna get quite a few messages. Okay, it seems like the model is done. Awesome. But we'll have to wait and see if we're gonna get a green light. In some cases, you may have to copy paste a bunch of times, so Cursor has to fix multiple problems. It really depends on the project type and how well the model is performing that particular day. One thing though, please remember there's a small delay between updating GitHub and Vercel noticing it. It's not long, maybe a couple of minutes, but don't panic in case you don't see a new deployment here. A new deployment simply means Vercel is trying to publish the website yet again. And we can tell that it's building by the yellow light. We can actually click on it and get a few more details. Inside, we get a bunch of information, but we're actually only interested in the status. Is it green or not? In case it's red, we're gonna do some more copy-paste action, but hopefully, fingers crossed, it's gonna be green. At around the 2-minute mark, I'm a bit anxious, but I'll wait a bit more. Though here's the thing, you may want to refresh just in case. And yes, victory, it's ready, it's green, we're all set. Let's have a look at our website. Of course, the link is going to be quite ugly and complicated, and the images don't seem to load, but yes, the website is live and now we can share it with everyone. Is this a win? Yes, it's still great progress. We can fix anything now that the chain is established. Cursor, GitHub, Vercel. Let me take a quick break and we'll come back to fix any issues. Welcome back. We've made solid progress so far, but let's keep at it. Start a new conversation and ask the model to change the language to English. Now, in case you don't have this issue, you can work on any other part, and there's a lot to polish up. Now, here the model gets to work quite fast, and it seems to understand what it needs to do. On my end, I'm expecting this to take a few minutes actually, fairly short, but keep in mind, this is fairly late in the evening, and a lot of people on Reddit speculate that this is the rush hour, that this is not ideal. But here the model is moving along bit by bit. I want to mention something. In my previous projects, I've had quite a few issues with updating them, adding simple things, adding various updates, various small bits. Any simple changes cause the model to review the entire project, which is totally fine, sure, but at times it's also remaking stuff, redoing stuff it shouldn't do. For example, you ask it to fix the styling of a button, let's say, right? But then it implements a whole design system, basically overkill, using a sledgehammer to swat a fly, right? And here's another example. I upgraded one of my Android apps and I wanted to use Material Design 3. It just got launched, right? And that took over 45 minutes. And then loads of issues, tons of prompts. And after it was all said and done, after 45 minutes, the app looked identical. No change whatsoever, but tons of files, tons of code. This is why experienced developers don't take vibe coding seriously. Sure, you can launch a project, but then constantly updating it, maintaining it, that's very hard to do. So far, I've managed to do it, though I think you gotta adjust your expectations. If you do that, you're gonna be good. And here's how I look at it. Once you have validation, once you see that the project is getting traction, you can level up your subscriptions so you can do a better job. You can use smarter models. Or on the flip side, you could hire a developer and the costs could be quite a lot smaller because you did most of the heavy lifting and everything is well documented. But again, on the flip side, it really depends on the nature of the project because I've worked with lots of coders that approach a project in a very, very specific way. They only use certain tech. And it's something like saying that you never drink anything other than Coke, for example, or that you always use an iPhone, nothing else, you know. Coders have a similar approach. They're somewhat rigid because they know what approach gives them the best outcome. So that's why, for example, certain developers don't like WordPress, or they would never use Magento, and so on. So there is a small chance that whatever you may use Next.js, right? Maybe certain developers won't like that. And in that case, that may be more expensive. Things are very much fluid and ever changing. The thing is, the rate of improvement is fantastic. O3 just got slashed. It's now 80% cheaper. And yeah, things are getting better and better. But even at this point, you can still deliver working projects that do the job. They may not be the most complex projects, sure, but you can do it. And after a few months, when the models get even better, you're right there in the driver's seat. You're right there and you have experience. You know how to work with models and various platforms like GitHub, Vercel, and so on. So overall, you're going to be golden. Right, at this point, this is a bit ridiculous. The progress is at a snail's pace. Claude 4 is dragging its feet. This is why I'm telling you, you gotta be patient, Zen-like, and let all the frustration wash away. The task is very, very basic, yet Claude is acting like it's moving mountains, you know? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna dramatically increase the speed of the video so we won't be here all day. But I really wanted to include all of these bits, even though I could have easily cut them out from the course. For me, it's essential that you know that waiting around is actually a big part of vibe coding. Getting bored, sure, that's not ideal, but that's the price we sometimes have to pay. Keep in mind, your experience may be vastly different even with the same model. But again, the other side of this, you should really try the same approach with the exact same prompt with a different model. For example, say Gemini. The thing is, these companies are in a massive war. Google, Anthropic, OpenAI, just to name a few. Twitter with XAI. The Chinese companies are doing fantastic work. Of course, Meta, Facebook. They're also big in this AI space. So this is as exciting as ever. And we as the consumers, we are gonna benefit. Imagine the top car or phone companies having such a battle. But here's the thing, the cycle takes weeks, not years. So with getting better, faster, smarter cars and phones, cheaper ones as well, but that's happening super fast, like every 2 weeks or so. You get a brand new project, leaps and bounds ahead of the previous ones. This is fantastic for us. Okay, it seems like we gotta resume the conversation. Okay, no worries. But of course, with getting the same problem as before, connection problems. Okay, by the way, my speed here, the internet speed is fantastic in my country. One of the fastest in Europe. But okay, let's fix it. Here's the thing, instead of restarting cursor, we can also do this. Start a new conversation by using the top right icon. Then look down and open the previous chat. You're gonna see the same issue, but here's the difference. Now we can type in continue and hopefully we can resume the process from that spot, give or take. That's the plan anyway, there's no guarantee. So let's see what the model says. And yeah, it's really thinking about it. So I think I have to speed this up. Okay, it says the translation is done and that is gonna push everything to GitHub. Okay, that's fine by me. I'm gonna let it work in the background. And after quite a lot of time, I'm still not over the thought process of this model, how it gets confused, how it sees a situation and it tries to fix it. But yeah, let's just skip ahead because it's quite likely that your design is already in English. I really think the location of the clinic determines the language. Let me know in the comment section if on your version you got your own language based on the address of the clinic. I, of course, use the fake one, sure, but I use the random one from my city, from my country, hence the language. Oh, wow. Something is wrong here. For whatever reason, the model is asking me to go to GitHub and create a new project. And this doesn't make any sense. Clearly, it's gone wrong. And this is a sign that we need to switch to a new chat. If this continues for another 3, 4, 5 prompts, I'll probably switch models. By the way, always check if the GitHub MCP is up and running. If it's red again, if it's broken, that would make sense. But on my end, it's fine, which means the model simply didn't follow my instructions for whatever reason. To prevent that, I'm gonna grab the repo link straight from GitHub, so there are no questions about it. If we point the model directly at the project on GitHub, it should be able to update it without any problems. And by the way, this is the situation where you can use a different model. The task is super simple. It doesn't need any other context. It's just uploading some files to the web. That's it. So in these cases, there's little to no risk. We're not asking the new model to completely understand the code or improve it. No, so this would be a good chance. But I want to continue with Claude 4. I want to use it from start to finish because I believe that's how you should work as well. Use it, get frustrated, make a note of all of the issues that it's causing, and then compare it to something else. That's the best way to learn. Here we have a new issue, the first time I'm seeing it. A rate limit with vertex, no idea. And it's asking us to use the auto select model, which is not ideal in our case because we want to learn. It does say we can wait a few minutes and try again. That's what I'm gonna do. And now I'm gonna hit resume and see how it does. Now, while this is working, let me tell you why auto select is not a good idea for us. We want to learn about these models. We want to see stuff like, for example, ChatGPT 4.1 is not able to move images around, okay? Or how Claude struggles to translate a website, or how Gemini is horrible at spacing or alignment. You can only get to these conclusions, which are fake by the way, if you use those models for hours on end, maybe tens of hours. I still stand by the statement. Models change all of the time. They evolve even though they have the same name. We're using Claude 4 here, but the Claude 4 you may use in a week, in a month, that may act in a completely different way. Why that's the case is a bit more complicated. Maybe Anthropic, the company behind it, adjusted it slightly. Maybe Cursor made a few changes. Maybe there's fewer people using it at that moment, or maybe the servers have been upgraded so more people can use the model at the same time, but without any degradation. It's tricky, it's complicated. But of course, here's another connection failure, which is fantastic. That's quite something for such a small task. Again, calm. Let's make a new chat and then come back. I want to continue that conversation because I feel we're close to a result. So let's see what's what. The model mentions something that it's just about done. To be fair, don't believe it, always check. I don't think anything has been updated. You can have a look on GitHub and see when the last push happened. Push simply means update. But yeah, tons of issues, super buggy. This is a horrible experience, and as you can see, it has nothing to do with the actual website or the vibe coding. It's just the process of using a model that's overwhelmed, at least at this point in time. From GitHub, we can see that the last push happened 5 minutes ago. That means that Vercel has probably updated something in the meantime. So let's check the latest deployment and see if that's the case. Let's have a look. And yeah, this is in English. We gotta check the entire thing though, from start to finish, and see if it's completely done. I think it's about 95% translated. There may be a few bits here and there, but overall, it's fine. But what's happening in Cursor though? I have no idea. It seems like the model wants to make a new project, a new repository on GitHub. I have no idea why it has such horrible amnesia. I think there may have been an outage of sorts. Typically, Claude 4 works much better than this. We can try seeing its thought process, but to be honest, I'm really not that curious. Fact is, we are live, the website is translated, and even though this doesn't feel like a victory, we still made progress. So let's take a quick break, regroup, and see what we can do next. Thanks for sticking with me, and I do hope that this does not discourage you from vibe coding. We are early and it shows, but I'm quite confident that these issues are minor issues that will soon get fixed. So overall, let's continue. I'm gonna see you in a moment. Welcome back. The road was bumpy, but overall we've managed to have a good looking website that's in English with a working form, and it's already hosted on Vercel. This means we could share it with the world, but here's the thing. The link is quite ugly. For testing purposes, this is just fine. If you want to present your work to the client before the project goes live, again, totally fine. But what if you want a nice link, a good address? That means you gotta buy a domain name. You can do that straight from Vercel. This is my account in the top left side, and here we can see we're inside the project. Okay, from the navigation, we can go to settings. In this new page on the left, we can find the sidebar with quite a few options, but we're interested in domains. And here we are. This is the existing link, which is far from ideal. So let's do this. Let's use the Buy Domains button and see what's available. Now, short, snazzy domains are almost always unavailable. Tons of companies have bought thousands of domains and they've made a business out of reselling them. My advice, stay away from that. Use your name or a word that means something to you. And here's why. Loads of years ago, your domain name really mattered. So having something like Photoshop tutorials, that would have been an advantage. But nowadays, that's not the case. That's irrelevant. So I'm gonna use my own name, but the .com version is not available because I already bought it. What I love about Vercel is the fact that I get maximum transparency here. We can see all of the available options. Some of them are incredibly expensive. For example, chrisbarron.ai is a whopping $149, and that doesn't make any sense. I do see a .NET version here, and it's only $12, and I think that makes sense. Vercel already has my credit card on file because I made the previous purchase, so all that I have to do is confirm that I want to buy it. Of course, I'm gonna have to confirm the transaction with my bank, but that's not a problem. It's the same as with any transaction on the web. But yeah, that's all it takes to buy a domain name. Simple as that. Now we're gonna see it in this dashboard, but let's go back to the project so we can link it. So from the homepage, click on the vet project. And now inside it, we can see domains in the top right side. It's not exactly obvious, but you'll soon get used to Vercel's interface. Okay, let's click on it, and now we're back to this point. Only this time around, we're gonna click on Add Domain. And of course, we're gonna select chrisbarron.net that we just bought. Please check this box, it's an important setting. Now Vercel is gonna ask us if we wanna upload the production version, and of course, that would be the case. And that's because we could potentially have a different version, and here's why. We can launch this website as it is, but then we can continue working at it. Maybe we have a test for just a few friends, a new version that's slightly different. So that's where multiple deployments come into use. But that's not the case here, so let's keep it simple, Hit save, and then we're gonna have to wait just a bit. There are loads of details that we could potentially dive into, but I want to stay focused on nailing this process, from idea to launch the website as fast as possible. The SSL certificate is something that most websites should have, but it takes a few minutes to generate and set up. I'm gonna skip ahead, and yes, here we are. We can now visit chrisbarron.net. This is our lovely website. We no longer need that ugly link. It still works, but now we can use this one. So we're all set. The website isn't polished, it needs work, but the first thing is fixing the images. They're not loading. So let's go back to cursor, open a new chat, and tell the model exactly that. Actually, you know what? It may be a better idea for me to restart the program, considering how many issues we've had. Honestly, I don't know if a restart actually helps, but I did see the model is having issues even writing out words. So not actual code, but sentences, which means the performance is really slow. It's like I'm using a very old computer, which that's not the case. But yeah, let's see what's what. So the prompt is quite simple. The images are not loading, fix that and update the website. Now, that's a bit vague to be honest. I should have mentioned the GitHub link. So yeah, we'll see if this is gonna go through. In any case, without the races, we'll see what's gonna happen. So the model sees the images and it starts to investigate the problem. Okay, the speed seems a bit better. It seems the restart might have helped just a bit, but it's early days. So let's see the project up and running and then we'll decide. But from what I'm seeing, no, it's actually still struggling. Well, maybe that's not the correct word, struggling, but I was expecting the problem to be something quite simple to fix, like a few lines of code somewhere. But maybe the files would not upload it to GitHub because of those issues, you know. But the model though, Claude 4, is really thorough, it's really taking its time. And from what I see, it's starting up servers, it's creating a test page, a test server. And this is actually quite impressive. This is a green flag, even though it is a bit annoying to be honest. So have a look here, it makes a server in which we can test and see if the images are actually working, if they're loaded up. And this is fascinating. And yeah, we can see 11 out of 11 images are actually being displayed. Though to be fair, have a look at the sizes. These are absolutely massive. So that's a problem we could definitely fix for future projects. But to be honest, I actually knew that this was likely to cause an issue. Now here's the thing, some models may optimize the images for us, whether you ask it directly or the model suggests it. That was the bit that I was trying to capture in the recording. Here though, it did a lot of harm, but still it's a good learning experience. So now you can avoid that. So let's zoom ahead and see what the model is up to. So fast forward and I think it's done. The summary is massive, impressive, lots and lots of lines. That's quite helpful because we can read something in plain English. However, the question is, did the model fix the problem? We first have to check GitHub. If there's no recent update on GitHub, there's no chance that the working version of the website is going to show us any images. Remember, we're still relying on GitHub as an intermediary between Cursor and Vercel. And no, I don't see a recent update. The model either forgot or it didn't understand my prompt because, to be fair, I was a bit vague. But no worries, let's do this. The project is here and I'm gonna give it the actual link. That should prevent any potential issues. Okay, let's see what's what. Okay, the model seems to understand. It's opening a terminal and it's probably gonna check stuff out. This sometimes takes quite a while and sometimes it actually freezes. That's a big issue because there's no progress bar. There's no good way to check and see if it's still working or not, with at least not one that I'm aware of. What I like to do is this. Click here on move to background. This is very small, but I hope you can see it. And this acts like a bit of a refresh. Now, after the few seconds, it does seem like it's still working. So we're back on track. Now the task is straightforward. Upload some files to GitHub. This should be easy, right? By the way, we could potentially use the terminal and upload the files ourselves. It's actually not that hard. The commands aren't complicated, but here's the thing. I want the model to do it. It can do it, so of course it should do it. And on the other end, I do prefer to find out its limitations, you know? Find its personality, explore it, see what's what. Of course, we could do more work ourselves, but that's not the point. Sure, if something is impossible, the model can't actually do it, of course, we're gonna do it. But when I know for the fact that the model can do it on its own, then I won't get out of my chair to help it out. If it's more than capable, then it should do it. But yeah, this is taking ages. This whole process took about 25 minutes. Incredibly frustrating. And here's the thing. After a while, it seems to have restarted the thought process, which is not normal. It's thinking again and planning the next moves. It's just file uploading, that's it. So it's like someone unplugged the model and then plugged it back in. Amnesia, it forgot. Sure, it didn't fail. It didn't ask us for help. But it's somewhat hiding the fact that it failed, which is a big red flag. These models are trained to not fail, to cover up their mistakes. Combine that with the 25-step timeout and the fake connection issues, and I can see why a lot of people are not in love with it, especially senior developers. Now, I want to be open and transparent about these problems so you know what you can expect. Some vibe coders think that they can actually replace senior coders just like that, but being arrogant doesn't help, especially when the performance just isn't there. But I'm gonna skip ahead, and here's the summary. It seems it managed to finish, though we do have to check. I don't trust it. It does say that we need a key for resend and other stuff that doesn't make any sense, so I'm quite skeptical. So let's check out GitHub, Control R or F5 to refresh, and there's an update that was just made. By the way, 45 commits, 45 updates. That's way too much, that's ridiculous. That's a sign the model tried way too many times. Something was clearly off. Now, let's check Vercel, though be aware there's a delay. The latest version is the existing one, so nothing has probably changed. No images to see in that version. But yeah, after a few seconds, a new one is gonna pop up, and inside it, yes, we do have our images. It wasn't easy, but we managed to pull through. Now, I hope you managed to get to this point where you have a working website without any major bugs. Now, let's take a break and we can see what we can improve. I'm gonna see you in a second. Welcome back. At this point, we're all set. There's a connection between Cursor, GitHub, and Vercel, which means we can continue to work in Cursor and the website is gonna automatically update. Fantastic stuff. Of course, there are many ways to work. For example, we can test something out, then come back to a previous version. After all, that's why we have version control on GitHub. But assuming we're gonna constantly push updates, we're gonna continue, then let's see how this goes. So we're gonna focus on Cursor. We're gonna tell the model to update the color scheme. I want a dramatic change and I think it should be fairly obvious, you know? So let's do that. Let's change the color scheme from blue to red and then push the update to GitHub. Here, to be honest, considering our experience, I could have provided the link. But in the past, that was not needed in my previous projects. So fingers crossed, let's see how this goes. Keep in mind that all of these videos are recorded one after another. So if there's a traffic jam, there's a good chance the performance won't be great. It's gonna be as bad as the previous videos. But here's the thing, if the model makes a mistake, I would much rather show it versus, showing an edited version where everything goes perfectly. Because here's the thing, when I was learning to vibe code, I watched so many courses, tutorials, where, it said step A, B, C, and then success. It sounded awesome. But on my end, I spent hours on step B, or I couldn't even figure out how to start step A. Things like create a quick Python script and run it in your terminal. Those things annoyed me. I had no idea, no context, no clue. Or when I was trying to fix an issue, I was asked, things like, okay, what terminal are you using? That's where you gotta be patient. You gotta be zen, you gotta try out various things until it works. Ask the question in different ways and continue to look for the solution. So that was my experience and that's what I'm trying to teach you as well. Now back to the project. This is taking forever, but let me zoom ahead. Okay, here's the success message. Let me check on GitHub that we do indeed have an update. And here's the thing, the model actually made a new branch. Oof, that's not ideal. I'm gonna explain what that means in a second. Still, let's see if it worked. We gotta check Vercel though. Here we gotta wait for a few seconds because the latest GitHub update takes a moment until it goes to Vercel. But fast forward, And yes, we have our red colored scheme. The model did the job. It didn't push the update correctly, but this is a good learning experience, something to make a note of. First of all, we can do this. Because the red version is not the main one, we can actually click on it and then choose to push it to production. That means ChrisBarron.net will finally become red. So that's one thing that we have to do. We're gonna have to wait though until it builds, but I'm gonna speed things up. Now here's how you should approach these situations. So in GitHub, we have a warning message of sorts, but let's say we have no idea what to do. No problem. Just simply take a screenshot of that specific area and then drag it in the chat. Drag it into cursor. By the way, if you try to capture the entire screen, it may not work as well. And the name of the file may also be an issue. If you're on Windows, F2 to rename it. Now, screenshots typically have super long names. Shorten it just to be safe. I use SS from screenshot. Okay, now check and see if you see a small preview here. But yeah, after you drag the image inside, simply ask, what's up with this message? What's the situation in GitHub? And even though the model failed us in many different ways, I still think this is the best approach. Just ask, you know? And after a few seconds, it's actually explaining what happened. And from the looks of it, it's proposing two choices. But here's the fun stuff. It's already executing option 2. So we don't have to make any decision here. Now let me explain what happened. Though I'm quite sure in the summary, the model is going to explain as well. So say that we're working for the client, right? And the client is a bit unsure about how the website should look like. Because of that, we want to present two choices, right? A red one and a blue one. Okay, now one way to achieve that is to create a new branch in GitHub. Basically, it's an alternative. Working with branches helps you experiment with different looks, different layouts, different functionality, but without having to go back, without having to undo. Now, sure, undoing, going back, reverting, that's another choice. You know, save a blue version and then go ahead and save a red version. But that's one single line, you know, and on that end, you can show the red one. And in case the client doesn't like it, you can ask the model to go back to a previous one. Okay, that's not as good. Instead of having one single line, imaginary line, you make a separate branch, a separate line, if you will. Now, it's a matter of preference, but most developers would prefer to use a different branch for stuff like this. And yeah, that's what the model is also telling us in the summary. But it basically fixed it, and that message is no longer up on GitHub. So that means we are done. We're all set up. Now it's up to you. Take it from the top. Use the same prompt and create a vet website. Please, please be calm and have fun with it. Tell me your experience. Post a screenshot and tell me how the model worked on your end. Tell me the good, the bad, and the mediocre. You can replace a few things in the prompt. You can shrink the images if you want to be on the safe side, but the goal is to remake this project in a similar fashion. In case you don't want to share a screenshot, you can share the Vercel link. I don't recommend you buy a domain name for the sake of this course. A Vercel link is going to be just fine. So go ahead and have fun with it. Explore. It's like learning to swim or ride a bike. You will fall down, you might gulp down some water, some nasty salt water, but overall, it's going to be a positive experience and you're going to be happy that you did it. With vibe coding, this is the situation. Okay, let's continue. Back. I want to point out something. When I was learning to vibe code, I tried using projects that my former developers created. These guys were skilled developers with a lot of knowledge, but they made one big mistake. They didn't leave any notes whatsoever. Now in GitHub, in my own GitHub, I can access 30, 40 projects that they made, but here's the thing, I don't know anything about them. So what I did was, when I first got started, I tried updating them and making them run. They were made in 2018, 2019, so obviously quite old. And here's the thing, in short, I failed. I spent a lot of time, a lot of credits, and it was very annoying. And then I tried to make my first app, So then I switched my approach and I said, okay, let's make my first app on my own, but I'm gonna use an existing code, right? So I'm gonna use something from GitHub. Remember, some projects are public. That means you can copy them and you can build on top of them, right? And I figured that would save me quite a lot of time and hassle, and of course, wasted credits. But here's the thing, I failed yet again. And it's not the failing that's the problem, it's how I felt, and that's what I want to share. Here's the thing, I was working with open AI models that were free at the time, o4 and 4.1. And I was constantly squashing bugs, fixing parts after parts after parts. Now, the issue was I had no idea if I was on bug 5 out of 50 or 5 out of 50,000. I had no reference point. It was like swimming in the ocean with lots of fog around me. I couldn't see the shore. I couldn't see the beach. I didn't know if I was swimming in the right direction. Maybe I was a few paddles away from the beach. Maybe I was miles away. And it was super tiring, using prompt after prompt, trying out various things. And that's the issue. I didn't know if I got any closer, if I was closer to the end goal, to actually making the project run. I had no idea. And here's the thing, if you get stuck and you're not sure about it, you can always start a new conversation. You can just click here. A fresher model is going to be that much more helpful. For example, if I were to add the gallery section to our dentist website, I would start a new conversation by clicking here. This is the recommended method. You break up the project into parts. We now have a foundation. We published it. Cool. Then we may want to add whatever, a gallery, then Google Analytics tracking, then maybe a more complicated form. Okay, well, those things can be 3 different conversations. Keep in mind, you're using the same amount of credits. There's no downsides, but a fresh conversation means a fresh model. It's not tired from the previous prompts. But to come back to my point, if you feel like you're swimming in an ocean and you have no idea where you are, you need to take a break and reassess. You need to change models and or start a new conversation. For me, so far, I tend to think that starting from scratch is a lot better. Have the model create everything from zero on your own, but of course you can reference a project. Again, for inspiration. Use it as an inspiration and the model will take note of that. But don't import the code and hopefully it's gonna run. Hopefully you can build on top of that. Usually that's not gonna work, especially at the beginning of your career. So my advice, start with small, fun projects, then build your way up. Don't tire yourself by swimming into the unknown for way too much. Yes, have patience, but if you feel like you're not making good progress, you should pause and look for another way.